Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 116. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me today, we have a Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, what's going on?
Poke.
Seyrr.
Oh, sorry, I had my mute still on. I got my Dark Knight to 80, and I found a Blue Mage Glamour that I actually like.
Very
Look
cool.
at this. This isn't Neo-ish Guardian. This is just replica Sky Pirate stuff.
Arr.
Yeah, no, you can mix and match. It looks really good. I'm really happy. Just like, I might actually get around to leveling Blue Mage now that I like the way I look.
Fair enough. I suppose that is important to like how you look and how you feel and like things about yourself.
Hey, yeah, you want to put forward a cool self-image, and then you can be like, oh yeah, I'm the badass hero. I'm not showing off my boobs unnecessarily. That just might be a female character thing, though.
1 out of 5 stars.
What?
I appreciate you, Seyrr.
Thank you.
And as you can hear, we also have a Taliz Marvelous. Taliz, what's going on, buddy?
I'm the second most interesting potato in the world because I haven't done anything in the last 2 weeks, but things are going well. I finished off the second wave of Eden this week. I've been going remarkably slow in 5.2, but there's a lot of good stuff that has been happening in and out of game that's been really exciting.
Oh, such as? Anything you can share?
I got to visit Canada again, which was always fun, and catch up with a couple of friends. I also had a couple of really awesome things come in my direction. So we'll talk more about those as they develop, as opposed to false promises like, I don't know, moving to another country permanently.
Oh, come on. Spread all the terrible lies and...
Don't worry, everyone. I just came back from Japan and the Philippines 3 weeks ago to Seattle, and there's nothing wrong. There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Let's all just be sad a bit now.
A little bit, but yeah. Seattle's a ghost town, so it's been an interesting couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's reasons for that, and we don't necessarily want to get into all of that, but
yeah,
it's caused a lot of things to get canceled. Like they canceled TwitchCon Amsterdam.
Yep.
They
GDC got canceled.
They got postponed.
Okay, yeah.
Emerald City Comic Con got canceled as well.
Let's see. I've got isitcanceledyet.com has a list of all the various things that links to it. Google I/O's been canceled. South by Southwest has been canceled.
What? They canceled South by Southwest?
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy
all those bands
shit.
we've never heard of are going to be so sad.
Oh no.
Let's see. The Queen plus Adam Lambert concert is currently listed as uh-oh. Yeah, their thing is either yes, no, or uh-oh.
Oh, so they don't.
GDC was canceled. E3 is currently in the uh-oh status. Seattle Comic Con's canceled.
Yeah, Emerald City got canceled.
Free samples at Costco are canceled.
Aw.
That's so good. I'm so happy that's what we decided was we were going to do.
Doctors Without Borders is not canceled, and they encourage you to donate.
Yes, donate, because it's a good cause.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Anime Detour has not been canceled.
Yet.
Well, they don't plan on it.
Yeah.
They plan on continuing. Because, well, people get con crud anyway. But just, they're telling people to make sure to take care of yourself. And if you are sick, don't go. We all know how that's going to go.
Also, wash your hands, hot soap and hot water. There's a number of songs you can sing to it. Get all over, in between your fingers, on your wrist. Sanitizer is good, helpful if you don't have an option, but it's kind of the second choice. There's a long technical thing for why soap is good. It pretty much strips off the protective layer of the virus, and so then it dies.
Well, what if you were to say wash your hands and then use the hand sanitizer?
Not really necessary.
But it would
Wash
make
your hands
sure
and dry them properly, and you'll be fine.
it would make sure that those viruses are super dead.
Yeah, it's kind of overkill, and there's some concerns about how good that might be for you. But yes, well,
So if it's
wash your
overkill, then,
hands.
then do it. Got it.
Sure, why not?
Hey, Seyrr, we get the result we want. Let's just take it.
Exactly. Speaking of just do it anyway, we did a thing today. We had our meetup with Yelta from Gather Together, and we all met up at Victoria Borough in Victoria, Minnesota, and that place is absolutely amazing. It is a huge place. They've got a mini golf course in the center of it. There's a bar up front. There's a bunch of places you can order food on the side. They've got a whole bunch of different video games. In the back is axe throwing. They have a ticket style arcade off in one corner. They have these, I don't remember what the game is called, but it's like the game where you take a nail into a stump and you have to hit it with the pointy end of a hammer. That old German drinking game or something like that.
That does sound German for some reason I can't quite articulate.
But
that is a really hard thing. I've done
yes,
that. They've stupid hard.
Those around the place. They have bean bags. I mean, the place was a lot of fun, and we threw axes. We got a few pictures that we posted. Yelta was kind of our videographer, so we'll be relying on her expertise and the things that she took to see how badly that yours truly did. I did get a couple of bullseyes, but no, it's actually very interesting to throw axes. And Nick Nar was pretending the board was the Moogles from Mogholm. He said in chat earlier.
I mean, if it improves your accuracy, you should definitely do it.
I think it did help him actually, because my God,
Please
was
don't
he
throw axes at Moogles.
unless they're from Mogholm.
Oh, perfect. Artemisian's fine. We could save him. He's not from Mogholm though, so he's okay.
Yeah. I mean, naming way is fine.
Naming Way's not a Moogle.
Depends on the game.
He's a Hummingway.
Depends. On
Anyway, is he? Now I'm curious. Anyway,
so we had a total of 9 people there. There was myself, Yelta, and her husband Ulf. Nick Nar was there. Our friend Renari was there, as well as stream supporter Daltrea and his girlfriend, and a friend from work, Travis, and his wife. So 6 of us threw axes. And like I said, it was just a really, really good time. And we're thinking of making this a kind of a semi-annual thing. Whether or not we go here each time, but like I said, maybe making these meetups kind of every six-ish months or so. Because it'll be a lot of fun to do. So
hey Klauss, can we throw axes at FanFest?
I don't think that they would like that too much. They might.
I mean, we find a place that like there's boards.
If we can find a place that has boards nearby, yeah.
Okay, I'm not meaning we just like piece out into San Diego streets and be like, "Buckle up, Buttercup!" Like, no, let's find an actual place to go.
We go to a Home Depot. We clean their axes out, and then we just march into a fan fest with them. I don't think they would like that. Come on, I'm not wrong.
But now I want
right?
to go to Home Depot and just buy like a dozen hand axes and be like, "Don't worry, nothing bad is occurring."
Oh, God damn it. Anyway, so that was an amazing time. So check out the social medias for those. I did post a couple of pictures, and like I said, Yelta does have video that she will be sharing on hers. She'll let us know when she does that. And now, quick programming note. On April 4th, there will not be a regular episode of Phoenix Down Radio, as that weekend I will be at Anime Detour, and we'll be putting on 2 panels. Both of my panels were approved this year. The first panel is I'll be bringing back the introductory podcasting panel, So You Want to Be a Podcaster, and this will be at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. And on Sunday afternoon at 1:30 p.m., I will be presenting a new intermediate podcasting panel called So You're a Podcaster, Now What? And if the internet is stable enough, I will attempt to stream them live on Twitch. Otherwise, we will be recording them and posting them as special podcast episodes that weekend. So make sure to look forward to that. And if you're going to be at Detour that weekend, make sure to look for the flyers and check the programming notes for the locations. And then we will be resuming our regular podcasting schedule on April 18th. So we will be coming back after a 2-week break, basically, for these two yahoos. But I will be working my ass off. So
Yeah, we kind of figured it out for like peek behind the curtain. Like we kind of figured out like how do we do this schedule, and it's like we don't. Like
Yeah.
that was the end solution, is that we just don't.
yeah, it would have been way too hard to reschedule, especially for that weekend, since I'll be gone Thursday through Sunday.
And
that's
trying to change the week would just throw everything into chaos for the rest of the
Yeah,
year.
I mean we
For your on-call days
Yeah.
and whatnot.
well, and I think Seyrr's was the next week was bad for him anyway. So
Yeah. So it turns out that I don't know who I managed to convince, but the work is happy to send me to Gen Con and pick up most of the tab.
gotta love that.
How the crap did you pull that off?
They have some educator days. I found the program from last year. There were like 5 or 6 programs that specifically talked about, or seminars that talked about like game programs at libraries and things like that.
Just, I mean, we got like the pieces in order of like how it was going to work, but the fact that it actually worked.
I think
It's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
I mean, I also have to like prepare a presentation for the other librarians, which means I'm going to have to talk to people about games.
Oh damn!
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so sad that that's against your wheelhouse. And you're not going to
you
know what
poor
to do.
thing, Seyrr.
I'm kind of worried force a time limit with like fists or something.
I think you'll survive.
But yeah, moving weeks would have been a little bit complicated for
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, we're gonna give everybody a little bit of a break, and then we'll be coming back strong on the 18th. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some game and community news because there is a lot of it.
There's like a crazy amount of stuff that happened this week.
Yeah. Starting with some Final Fantasy VII news. They announced that the game has gone gold, which means there's going to be no more major changes to it, and they are ready to press for the final release on April 10th. So no more delays, guys.
I feel relieved and excited that that is where we're at.
Right? So happy to hear that we're about ready to get it, especially since the demo is live on PSN now.
They like didn't announce that. It was just
No.
like surprise on Monday. There's stuff going on.
Yeah. How awesome was that, though?
I
It was
got
pretty cool.
I got texted by one of my friends from KupoCon that was just like, "Hey, so John just told us about this on the plane to London."
Wow.
And we were like, "What?" They're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this demo's out." It's like 3 a.m. I'm still awake. I was like, "I guess this is what I'm doing today."
Yeah. And yeah, and you happen to talking about the people from the KupoCon, which you went to the release party in Vancouver.
In Vancouver, yeah. So the plan was that we were going to have these release parties over the course of a weekend, and then the game was going to come out, and then it was going to be awesome. Well, the game got delayed, and we were like, well, shoot, we've already paid for the deposits. We already have 3 venues. People are traveling. We've already got guests booked. I guess we're doing this anyway, because what's the point? Like, we're not going to get any money back by canceling, and everybody wants to go, so screw it. And then PAX East was like, hey, Square Enix has a booth. And Square Enix goes, hey, voice of Barrett, guess what you're doing this weekend? And he goes, I'm supposed to be at these 3 events with KupoCon. And they're like, you're also on contract with us. So what do we do? So John went from Vancouver to Boston to Toronto for 6 hours for the party, then went back to Boston to do the second day of PAX East, and then went to London.
Wow, what a trooper!
He's a beast. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We talked about our memories of Final Fantasy VII. Kind of talked about things we were looking forward to, things we want to see, moments we want to see. There was some wonderful discourse about classic menu-based turn-based game versus the active combat that we've seen sort of evolve over the last couple of modern generation Final Fantasies as well. And it was an interesting night to talk to 200 people about, hey, how did you feel about the combat in 15? Do you want to see that improved? Yes or no? And it was a very cool night.
Oh, it looks like they also announced some KupoCon news.
They did. So they said that they weren't coming back to Vancouver. So all of us West Coast people, unfortunate, we don't get to go anymore. Boo.
They lied.
This wonderful, well, sort of actually. This girl comes up during the Q&A session and gets the mic, and she, I kid you not, says, "Today is my birthday, and it is my birthday wish for KupoCon to come back to Vancouver." Of course, the room just erupts in cheers, and the person running it, Alex Main, says, "Okay, to my wife, to my business partner, and to my assistant, I am so sorry."
Oh no.
And he said that they are going to come back in 2021.
Aww.
So, Seyrr, you want to come to KupoCon with me?
I mean, Vancouver's closer than it could have been.
Toronto, London, Melbourne.
Oof. Yeah, like Vancouver's like practically on this coast. I just need a passport.
No, or an enhanced ID.
Oh, if you mean like a real ID, I did get one of those.
No, and I need one
Enhanced
step above
ID.
that.
Ugh.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I did when I renewed my license. It was an extra $15, and it took a background check, but I can cross land borders.
Yep. And you're
I'll
in
look into
California,
that
so
later.
yeah, those like $10, and they're worth it if you want to go to Mexico or Canada.
Yeah, I figured, if the shit hits the fan, I can just cross the border and say, hey, I'm coming over to say hi to you guys. And then maybe just won't come back. Just kidding.
Have fun in Ontario.
Well,
There are so many problems with this
I
plan.
think Winnipeg is closer.
Oh, it's true. It would be for you. You could you could ask Bannon. He lived there for 4 years.
There we
He knows
go.
what's up.
Right. But yeah, so that sounds like you had a pretty good time up there.
It was a really good time. It was a good opportunity to see everybody and touch base and talk about 7 and ask a couple questions and get some clarifying information now that a lot of the NDAs have gotten lifted, because there's a demo and because people have now seen what the game looks like. It's like, hey, this might not be the best choice. And they go, oh no, that's only part of the demo. That's not actually how the game is going to function, but it had to function this way so that the demo made sense.
Okay, so we're not. It isn't an exact 1-for-1. So let's talk
No.
about that. So like I said, the demo is live on PSN. It's about 7.5 gigs, and it basically seems like the first 45 minutes of combat in the game. You get the beautiful opening cinematic. Did such a good job on that.
Looked insanely cool. It's also, fun fact, a friend of mine actually dusted off his collection and found his PlayStation Magazine demo from 1997 and booted up one of his classic pieces of hardware that he's kept functional and played through that demo again as well. He says it's the same. It's the exact same level.
Oh, really? That's
there's
actually pretty neat.
Couple changes, obviously, but just in general, that's the demo that they decided to throw down.
Yeah, except it's turn-based and not active.
Right. It's the PlayStation 1 edition.
Yeah.
Version 0.9 of the game versus what we're about to get in a month.
Yeah. So like I said, the first 45 minutes, it basically covers the beginnings of the game up through the first Mako reactor. Now,
Yep, just that bombing mission.
Yep. Now, one thing that I kind of picked up out of that was the fact that they said Mako and not Mako.
Yeah, that's something that my friends from Wizards have had to mention every time they try to explain Magic the Gathering to anybody in an Asian country, is that it's like, no, we say mana, not mana. And
I mean,
you have to explain, well, vowels are pronounced 3 or 4 different ways in English, whereas in a lot of countries and a lot of languages, vowels are only pronounced one way. So looking at the hiragana for it, it's like, yeah, it would be Mako. But here in English, we're like, whatever. Nothing's sacred. We
No.
can pronounce this however we want.
Well, I mean, like I said, when we were growing up, we didn't have the voice acting in that, so
Nope.
the closest thing we had to reference to that was they had a Mako shark.
Yeah.
Mako shark. Do, 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 do.
Stop.
fired.
No. God.
Out of a cannon
Children's librarian.
into the sun.
I mean, if it would get the songs out of my head, sure.
But so yeah, we had that. So I always thought it was Mako. Anyway,
I always thought Mako.
It's,
So many different pronunciations of vowels.
And yeah, this is the reason why, and God help me for using this as a reference point for literally anything. There's the reason why in one of the Harry Potter books, Hermione has to explain how to pronounce her name to a new character because we're reading it. We have no idea. So they put it in the book. So it's like phonetically as she's explaining it to this new person that didn't know how to say her name. So now us as readers learned how to say her name. We're in the same boat where we don't know how this is supposed to be pronounced technically, but now we have voice acting. So we have something definitive to work off of.
Yep.
And they can just work in a thing where it's like, oh, hey, we'll just say the word and now you all know.
Yep.
I suppose it's almost kind of like Rama, Ramu, kind of thing.
Ramu, Titus, Zidane.
Wait, it's
this is
Zidane?
not
I thought it was Zidane.
It's Zidane. It's actually a French word. It's a whole thing.
Huh.
It's Zidane and Titus. Shut the fuck up.
Right?
Sorry.
Titus
Shut up.
Andronicus?
Oh, okay. We're going to go deep into this
No,
bullshit.
no,
if we
remember,
allow it.
according to Chili, it's Meg Ryan.
Are they going to be doing the cheesecake scene?
I'll have what she's having.
Do we?
Yeah.
And I
Why?
said just as Nick Nar was typing it out in the chat, which is the funniest part.
Time of death, 6:53 p.m. Phoenix Down Radio.
Oh, come on. We died a long time ago. We just didn't realize it.
Are we undead?
Yes.
Don't think about it too hard.
All right.
Good.
Continuing on. So, there were 3 different game difficulty modes. There's normal, which is going to be, what probably most people will play. Easy if you just want to go through it and enjoy the storyline. And there is also a classic mode. Normal and easy, both are going to be real-time battles, very similar to Final Fantasy XV, but they did some nice improvements on the system. It felt a little bit less jank.
Oh, it's so much better than 15's was.
Yeah.
So much better.
I mean, when you got used to the system in 15, it wasn't terrible, but the camera controls were a little bit nicer. I liked the fact at the beginning that they let you choose what type of camera settings you wanted.
Exactly. And I've always liked that, especially when they can put it into the game in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. Normally you have to dig through the menu system to try and find it, but they're like, how do you want your camera controls? Do you want regular up and down, left, right? Do you want inverted one and not the other? There were like 4 different choices, so I of course have to go inverted X and Y.
Yeah, I do too. But like the original OG Halo on the first Xbox, as soon as you boot up and you get your HUD and everything starts turning on, they're like, hey, try looking at this thing, and you look at it and they go, cool, did that make sense to you? Did that work? I can also try it this way. And then they switch it and you do the same actions again.
What do you think this
To see
is? An
which one
Xbox
fits.
podcast?
Oh God. No.
No, but
Rest in peace. Rest in pieces, Xbox.
No, I understand what you're trying to get at, though. It is nice when game designers actually take the thoughts of and feelings of what the players want. They want to be able to make those choices like right away and not have to suffer through an hour of tutorial before they can actually get in and change it.
And not like crash or run into a wall or miss a headshot 35 dozen times before you figure out how to change it. That's also awful.
Yep. I mean, I will be honest, I played the game in easy just because I wanted to see what it was like and slowly acclimate myself to the game style versus, have it kick my ass too much. But I'll probably end up playing the regular game mostly on normal to see what it's like. But one thing I didn't play through and I may try later, actually playing the classic mode.
I actually didn't know about. I didn't know about the menu thing until earlier today, so I definitely want to because I want to try the menu base, but
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
like.
done it yet.
Go ahead.
I did it last night, so I just did the normal mode, which felt like a couple times like, especially when I was playing as Barrett, I was like, okay, am I targeting the right thing? I was worried that I'd have to put a bit more effort into targeting the gun turrets and the like, and I was. It does. So there were a couple points where I just was confused about how it was working, but I'm sure with a little bit of time it would be fine.
The lock-on system is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you click
I think
on...
I just had trouble switching between targets a few times,
Okay.
and so I was working on stuff that Cloud would have been able to handle when I wanted to try to get the faraway stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing that's going to take some time for me to get used to is switching back and forth between your party mates. You can do that either with the up-down on your directional pad. I think left-right also works to do that.
Left-right. Yeah, I use left-right.
So basically, your D-pad is just for changing your characters at this point. Everything else
until you're actually in a menu.
Yep.
Yeah, it never felt overwhelming was the thing. There were some points where I was like, okay, I want to get to this thing, but I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, everything's happening. How do I do this?
You know, I wonder if they tested out this system on 15. Because it seems like, you know, that's about the time when they were probably ready to work on this aspect of it, when they actually added it into, patched into 15. Remember that about a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I will say I remember when the 15 Platinum demo came out and I played it and the controls were so bad.
They were.
I actually canceled my pre-order for the game.
Though,
I was that frustrated. This feels like they learned from that, and like 15 they learned from it and made adjustments too, but this feels like they learned from what we did in all the menuing of 13, what we did in building our characters' control schemes like we did in 12, what we did for all of 15 and the multiplayer aspects of 15. Now we're getting another game that's continuing to build on what they've learned.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so much smoother.
Like I said, it's not perfect, and maybe it's just how I'm interacting with it, but I'm hoping that, and we also have to remember that this is not the exact bits that we're going to get on April 10th. It's going to be a little bit different, a little bit more polished, and there's going to be a day one patch. We know this.
Oh, for sure. Also, this version of this demo guaranteed was signed, sealed, and done in like October.
Oh, probably.
So like they've changed some stuff for sure.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is a different demo than what they brought with to the game shows. The game shows had also Chapter 2, some Chapter 7, I believe I read. There's a lot more available to the game media than what we got on the PlayStation Store earlier this week.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't follow it that closely. I got the text that was like, "Hey, guess what you're buying today?" Or "Guess what you're downloading?" And I was like, "Okay."
No, I was just reading up on it because I wanted to see what a few other game outlets thought of the demos. Because I listened to Podcast Beyond, which is IGN's PlayStation podcast, and they talked all about it this week, and they gave their opinions on what they thought everything was going. I just was reading up on a few others, and I was reading, one person who was writing their information, and they said it was different from what they saw at E3 or at Gamescom or any of the other locations like that.
Or TG. Was there a demo available at TGS?
I think so. And even it might even have been a different demo than what they had at PAX, this last weekend.
True, because like TGS is in September. And PAX Prime is in September, but PAX East was, like last week.
So, who knows? But, like I said, classic style, getting back to that is supposed to be an homage to the original ATB style, which actually pauses time, slows it way down.
I like that more.
And then lets you input your actions, and it allows you to be more tactical with your decisions. And you can change what gameplay style you want at any time throughout the game. So if you are having trouble with a boss, you can switch it to easy mode, or you can go all the way back to classic and go that route. And if you want a little more of a challenge as you're grinding, leveling up, there you go. Just jump back to normal.
I think I'm going to do something basically along those lines where it's like normal, the grind, where I want to smash square and crush things, and then boss fights. Maybe I want to be in control of my items and spells.
Yep, so go back to classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to be a little more defensive because I know I have a tendency to like charge ahead and mash attack it. It felt like, especially in the not operator mode. What's the other one?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The
offensive
mode
mode.
switch. Yeah.
Yeah, the mode switch, having one where you
No.
the one with the stronger attacks, because I had noticed that it would said like if you're blocking hits, you'll actually automatically counter them. So it's like, okay, maybe I want to try to be a little more defensive on some of these things.
But yeah, I liked that we got to play as two different characters. We got started with Cloud, of course, and then Barrett joins in about halfway through, and that allows us to kind of see how this game switching goes back and forth. And each one of them has two different modes that you can switch to between.
Right.
Which is really nice. So.
Out of curiosity, I know like because there's various items you can pick up throughout. Are the Moogle medals just something that they didn't bother to take out, or is there an actual use for the demo?
In the demo, there's no use for him. There's no use for any of that, really.
Well, I mean, the potions were useful.
I didn't use one item.
Oh, no, I definitely was chugging potions. My defense
potions
game
and
was not
ethers, yeah. I did potions and ethers a lot.
Like I said, I was on easy mode, so.
Oh, okay. I was on normal.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
like go ahead and mock him for a bit.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I wanted to experience it on stream so people could see what was going on, so we can get back into Music Monday.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I just wanted to try speedrunning it for the very first time with no information about what was going on. Seems okay.
Now, overall thoughts. What do you guys think? What did you think when you got to play it?
8 out of 10. Like, there's definitely some room for improvement. I'm hoping that this is not a definitive version of some of the mechanics. But it's very good and it's very playable, and they're definitely delivering on what they've said they were going to deliver on.
I always felt like, okay, like when I played the original, it's like, okay, we're going through this reactor, but really it just kind of feels like a dungeony set piece type thing. Like this, a gritty, gross industrial location.
Mm-hmm.
It really conveyed the feeling of like industrial power plant in a way that I liked a lot better.
Yep.
As opposed to just, oh, this is what the dungeon looks like.
Now we're going down the staircase. Now
we're using brown tiles for this one. It must be the Earth Cave. Oh, we're using red tiles for this one. It must be the volcano.
Yeah, this felt like it felt like an actual, like having the, hey, here's this big open area that maybe there's edges of it, but otherwise this is this big industrial thing.
But I mean, I like that the design, I mean, you could still kind of see where you were going, but you could explore it instead of just having a picture in the background that you're walking across.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad, even for the time.
Yeah.
Also having Biggs and Jesse at the little control pals, and remembering that original one where it's like, talk to one of them. The thing inputted, and then they go to the next. Oh man, it brings back memories of that, but at the same time feeling like, oh hey, she's throwing out comments about how they talk to someone on the inside.
Yeah, talk to the NPCs. The voice acting in that is pretty good.
He's being a little bit of a braggart. Like they really started to get a bit more of their personality through.
And if you're a Persona 5 player, Jessie is the same voice actress in English, at least, as Futaba.
Oh.
Yep.
Huh.
So you get to keep your hacker. So that's good.
We'll see how it goes after Sector 7.
Nice. Yeah.
Did either of you guys miss the addition of a jump button?
Not really.
I wanted a jump button so bad.
Eh.
I mean, They put it in by, if you go to a certain location, you will automatically jump across or crawl under, but I would have liked to have that action button available.
To decide if you want to enter the flag of, I want to crawl under this, or I want to jump across this boundary.
I mean, just as a 14 player, when we finally got the jump ability, you know, not as a Dragoon, but actually being able to jump on our characters, I like jumping.
Yeah.
I want to jump.
There's a little bit more free exploration in something like that. Like, I always found it... hang on. area. I always found it interesting that people complained about FF13 being like, oh, you're just running down a long. It's like that's effectively true of so many games. They just didn't bother to disguise it, which I think was a purposeful stylistic choice. But it's like you are frequently like JRPGs as compared to Western RPGs. It's often there's a set thing to this. We are following along this thing so that a specific story can play out.
Did somebody order Domino's?
Not on my end. Yeah, I heard that too.
It must have been Taliz because he's gone quite silent. Anyway, the other thing that, as we're talking about, being able to switch back and forth between characters, the one thing that I've heard other game reviewers talk about, when you're playing as one character, the other characters don't have the greatest AI, at least not in the demo. Did you notice that at all?
I noticed a couple times I switched to Bear to handle things. I was like, hey, Cloud, Cloud's not handling this bit.
No, Cloud and Bear are idiots if you're not controlling them.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the demos. One thing I heard somebody bring up, and I actually agree with this, it would be really cool if they were to bring in some sort of version of gambits.
Yes. Oh my God. 12 was amazing. We had line by line programmable AI in 2003. It was amazing.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to go quite to that level. Just like a general, oh, hey, focus on this type of thing, or hey, provide support. Like, I don't really want to write a line by line.
Make sure that Aerith is her AI is healer, and that Barrett's
I want
AI
her going
range.
ham with her staff all the time.
And you want Tifa to do the healing with potions?
Sure.
Perfect.
Sure.
You got it in one. That's exactly how we play.
Actually, no, I want Cloud to be doing the healing with potions. I feel like he's got this hidden desire to be a doctor.
I don't know sometimes, Seyrr.
I will
making it up.
I will get out the cannon stamp if I have to. I need a cannon stamp.
I need a cannon to shoot you out of.
Into the sun?
Yes.
You got it in one, as Taliz says.
I mean, it's not like I have a huge body of evidence to compare against and extrapolate from.
Fair enough.
Wait, hold on. Klauss, he's figured out how to extrapolate information.
Oh, God damn it.
You're screwed, man. I'm not helping you on this.
Oh, no.
You can't see how deep my head is buried into my hands right now.
We're not doing it.
I can hear it.
We're not doing it. We're moving on. The last bit I want to talk about here. Did you guys know that there was a bit of a secret in there, depending on which time limit you chose?
No, I picked 20 minutes, so I didn't notice.
I picked 20 minutes because he told me to.
Yeah. If you pick 20 minutes, you get an extra little scene as it's playing through the very end. You basically get to see Sephiroth. That's the extra secret.
Okay, because I saw that, but I didn't realize that was a bonus thing.
That was a bonus. If you pick 30 minutes, you don't get to see that.
Huh.
Considering it takes like 4 minutes to do, there's really no reason.
I mean, I had like 17 minutes left.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
But I was on easy.
Are we talking about the content of it? Because there was like one thing that did seem significantly changed in terms of the storyline stuff that I'm not 100% sure. So, at the end of the thing, it shows the time ticking down. The bomb goes off. And it's a little bit of a smaller blast.
Oh, yes. That is a
damages
major
the reactor,
change.
It damages the reactor, but that's about it. Other thing to note, throughout you've had the Shinra executives, Heidegger and President Shinra, have been monitoring this entire situation. They know that Avalanche is there, and they're discussing it throughout. And it paints, in the original, it paints a lot more of a picture of Shinra, like, knowing about what's going on, being in control of the situation. So,
which I thought was a really good addition. I really liked the fact that we now know they've known the whole time, and like it was sort of implied, but now it's like no, they're watching us do this.
Right, they're letting it happen. And in fact, that bomb goes off, damages the reactor a bit, but it's like a relatively small explosion. Honestly, I wasn't expecting it.
It was like a firecracker going off on top of a log.
Right.
Just
At which point, At which point, the executives choose to activate some unknown thing. Several turrets move into the room and start shooting up the place massively and causing that big reactor explosion, the massive detonation that we've seen. Which I'm not 100% sure. I like the complicating element of, okay, Shinra is perhaps like do what they need to do to paint this picture thing, to create this opposition group, to create something that they can use the publicity for and manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
But if it becomes something where it's like, if it also becomes something where it's like oh, hey, the Avalanche was planning for it to be this small explosion, and like all these people died and all this bad stuff happened just because Shinra, like it kind of makes it uncomplicated in a way that I'm not sure I like as much. I feel like it's more interesting. No, they actually are trying to be eco-terrorists and like recognizing that some of this is going to hurt people and they're going to die. And maybe like it was a dud and they didn't mean they did want the big explosion, but then it was a dud. And so Shinra helps it along. That I'd be more okay with than just oh no, they're unabashedly the good guys.
Yeah, it's more fun to play as a bad guy.
I mean, well, there's not necessarily like, reference that one tweet that moved earlier, except the guy deleted it, about Shadowbringers and the whole thing of like maybe there's not a clear bad guy or like motivations being complicated, and then how people tend to interpret that. But Shinra is clear, like the Shinra Corporation, clearly bad guys in as much as there are any. But I'm not sure that I like and Avalanche is the heroic, totally good eco-terrorist group. Like if it was something where the bomb was done and they had intended for it to blow up big, and then Shinra is like, "Here, let us help you with that."
Also, why are they helping? Why are they helping destroy their own project?
Because they're trying to get people, to see that these guys are being bad.
This was touched on a bit in 7 as the original 7 as well. That Shinra saw Midgar as kind of like a stepping stone, that they had bigger plans. That the entire reason they wanted to get Aerith the Last Ancient was to find this promised land overflowing with Meko. So they kind of saw Midgar as expendable in pursuit of this larger project.
Yeah, but all of the reactors were kind of tests for, for the giant cannon.
See also why they were willing to drop an entire sector.
Yeah.
It just feels like, we know the story of 7. Well, most of the people that have played have know the story of 7. And it just, if you don't know, you're watching this and going, this is the most complicated insurance fraud I have ever seen.
Well,
there has to be an easier way to do any of this. And then it's like, oh, no, you're just trying to kill the planet.
But
okay, neat.
It wouldn't be as much fun to play if it were a simple way to do insurance fraud, though.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on this? And I knew we were going to kind of get into it, and I'm glad we did. So
pre-order the game, people, please.
There was a little bit more like hinting about things like about the nature of the Mako reactors and like this thing, like talking about how that stuff goes all the way down to the center of the planet. And if you fell in there, and there are a little bit more of those side musings that kind of get it from the beginning that, hey, there's complicated stuff going on there. Like there's a little bit more hint dropping as to that, which I felt was kind of nice. And that it's like, hey, actually drawing it in instead of just being, well, we haven't talked about higher disk, but oh hey, here's this fundamental concept of the world now.
Yep, the planet insides are squishy.
And then we're supposed to go, oh, okay, what do you mean I'm switching to disc 2? Where's my healer? What the shit? It's very, very strange.
All right, and then moving on, there are actually 3 different PS4 themes available that are Final Fantasy VII related. The first one, if you actually download and play the demo, you will get a free theme, I believe, right around the time that the game releases, featuring Cloud on the Hardy Daytona, Barrett, Tifa, Aerith, and Red 13. So if you haven't...
That sounds like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I love that art. It's a really cool-looking art piece. It's a standard static theme, so it's just a picture. But... if you like Butterfingers or Crunch Bars or Baby Ruth, if you buy 2 of those candy bars and upload your receipt to a website, butterfingerff7remake.com or something like that. I'll have to find it here in a second. You will get a Tifa on the Water Tower and Nibelheim dynamic theme. And if you are in our Discord and you go to the pictures room, I posted a picture of it that I just got mine today. And it's actually really cool. The way it interacts with everything in your cross hotbar, it is so nice.
Dynamic themes are always cool like that. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to that. I also can't have Baby Ruth or Butterfinger because they both have peanuts, so that
Okay.
might be a problem.
Well, Crunch Bar is just chocolate and Crispies.
Okay, well, that's going to be my option then.
Yep, and yeah, it's butterfingerff7r.com is the website you would use to redeem or upload your receipt to. And apparently you have to buy your 10 different candy bars and in 5 different transactions.
Wait, why?
Because you want separate receipts.
Well, okay, so the first 2 candy bars will get you the Tifa theme and something else. There's more DLC available.
Yeah, the big thing is it appears to be like a 1 code per receipt-ish kind of thing or something like that.
Gotcha.
I mean, I did a bunch of research on that, and initially it seemed like you didn't need to. We could buy them all at once, but you have to upload them differently. So
it's probably easier to just do separate transactions.
And self-checkout is your friend, I think.
Exactly. Just buy 2, put that receipt aside, buy 2 more. I would recommend paying either in cash or with a couple different cards, because otherwise you might get flagged for
abuse of the system or whatever.
Yeah, or like I said, your bank might stop the transaction because it thinks it's happening multiple times.
I feel like that's somewhat unlikely for a thing at a supermarket, but
yeah,
maybe.
But if you have 5 transactions of $2.18 go through
for the exact same items,
period.
Yeah.
Buy 1, grab $20 in cash back, solve your problem that way.
There you go.
That works.
That'll work too. But yeah, apparently it takes 3 to 5 days for it to go through. So I would say Nick Nar will probably have his in a day or 2, because I think he bought like a day after I did. I bought on Thursday. So yeah, it's really nice. You also have, where'd my notes go? There's also going to be one which is a Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy XIV combined theme, where if you pre-order Final Fantasy VII on the PSN store and have Shadowbringers registered to your PS4 account, you will have access to this Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy XIV custom theme.
So, are we getting a crossover?
Well, yeah, of course we're going to.
I was going to say, we've had Lightning.
Have they announced anything official?
We've had
no.
Toto.
But will they? I can almost guarantee there is going to be something in 14 from 7.
Over the summer, probably.
Yeah, I would, or it might actually be next year. I mean, right now the only thing we have is the bike and the minions from FanFest.
But if they do it over the summer, because like next year we are going to have ideally an expansion. So a lot of their marketing is going to be leaning to that. This year, not so much. This year might be a good time.
We'll see.
Technically, there's also the Cloud outfit, wasn't there? Although that was the Advent initial.
Yeah, it's from the Advent Children one. But yeah, and yes, that is in there. Though we don't have a Buster Sword yet.
Ooh. Dark Knight would have to equip that, wouldn't it?
I was going to say Dark Knight weapon for sure.
Theoretically, wouldn't it be cool if Machinists got a gun hand?
I'm down. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yes. Sharkaro is also saying the Cloud Hair exists, but that is only available to contest winners at this point. You have to win a Final Fantasy XIV community contest.
Give it time.
I think that's where it comes
They'll
from.
put, just like Scarf of Wondrous Wit, they'll put it on a event.
You're just poking the bear there, aren't you?
It's a thing I do. I mean, isn't that what Taliz is wearing right now?
I mean, possibly.
And it costs him a whole 50 gil?
Es posible?
See, that's why you go with the noble barding when you win a contest.
It's like the Orthodox barding, but in different colors.
Yes,
Oh,
black
okay.
and red. Because we got that when we did the Heavens Dub contest.
Oh yeah,
That was fun.
funny.
That was fun. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. We had fun doing it. It was actually my first foray into actual video editing.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's not easy. No, I mean, I've
No.
gotten a little better at it now, but it is what it is. All right, so that's the Final Fantasy VII news, and we're only 50 minutes into the show.
Yeah, right. Like I said, we said we were community news. We weren't kidding.
Yeah. Final Fantasy XIV news. Little Ladies' Day event is live, so go do that. It's pretty cute.
Shoot, I haven't done that yet.
It's actually it reminds me a lot of the one Starlight event that we had, because we go
For
back
a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, we go back to the Frostery. Is that how it's pronounced?
Frondale's Frontistry.
Okay, so Frontistry is correct. Perfect. And we do some really cool things with the kids there, so I highly, highly, highly recommend you do the thing.
Wait, is this the orphanage in Ul'dah?
No,
Yes.
kind of. It's orphanage slash it's for
Orphanage
sick
slash
kids.
sick ward.
Yeah, it's for sick kids.
Because that's where Emmy's character on Hyperion has been in exile for the last 4 years.
She can escape.
Maybe.
She might be able to escape if it's built as janktastically as it probably is. I
Sorry.
hope it is.
It's Frondale's ward for friendless foundlings. So it's the children's ward of Frondale's Frontistry for the orphans.
Okay.
Too many words.
Yeah.
Too many words.
It's wordy. But no, it's adorable. It doesn't take terribly long. I think I spent about an hour and a half on it because the second half is so cute. You actually, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's 7 extra things to do. Do all of them.
Up to 7. It's a little bit of a callback to the
do all 7.
Not everyone will have all 7.
Oh, really? I suppose.
So it is a callback to the Starlight event in that there's options to meet with and deal with various things based on what adventures you've had. So someone who, say, for instance, hasn't completed through Heaven's Word isn't going to have access to a lot of those options because you haven't actually met those people.
That's true. I guess that's right. It's very similar to the way they ended 5.2.
Ah.
You're not going to have access to all those if you haven't actually done all of the level 80 job quests, role quests.
Yeah. You're talking about for the 5.2 ending, not for this event.
Yes. The actual MSQ 5.2, I believe it was 5.2. Yeah. But yeah, Sharkuro is asking in the chat, when will they let us carry Lalafell on our shoulders? When will they let us punt Lalafell? That's what I want to know.
No, Lalafell's for life.
You know, I just want to note something after talking about all this. Like, this came up recently. If you look at stuff like fate descriptions on the first, there's no talk about dwarves getting eaten. There's no talk about all the hilarious things we can do to dwarves.
See,
This is just the thing that we do to Lalafell for some reason.
Yeah, dwarves aren't potatoes.
But they're the exact.
No, dwarves aren't potatoes. They drink much more.
I'm gonna carve a potato into a cup and drink vodka out of it.
There you go. That's very meta of you.
Don't know how to feel about that.
Just take a moment, Seyrr. Clearly you need one.
All right. And shoot, I knew I was going to do something else, but I have to. I'm a bad host. I forgot to watch a couple of videos. There is a 6-part series that Square Enix is doing on the creation of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. They have currently released parts 1 and 2. And I hit the wrong button there. I need to hit the button there. So there's part 1 of the video series. And part 2 is right there. Go give them a watch. There's a lot of interesting information in there as to how they came up with the story, the characters, everything in that. I love seeing the behind the scenes type of footage, so we can kind of understand where all of these ideas came from the developers. It gives us, that nice glimpse to their thought processes.
As opposed to just, why did they do this? That doesn't make sense. And then we watch this stuff and we go, okay, there's a process of how we got here. It makes more sense now. So even if we disagree or dislike the choice, we have a reason as to why. And in Shadowbringers, there's definitely some haters, as there always are. There's definitely some issues that we've raised eyebrows at, but it's a really, really good expansion, and it's a really good world.
Yeah, those haters that are out there for Shadowbringers, we call those people wrong.
Yeah, just straight up.
But no, I realistically, I love how open Square Enix is now, compared to the 11 days. We got nothing like this. Nothing.
Well, that's part of why 11 was an amazing game, and I loved playing it, but it's just definitely doesn't have the lasting power that 14 does.
And I think it's a lot more in-depth world as well. They saw people really enjoyed the stories that they were getting, and I think they applied, their storytelling power to 14. I mean, we were having this discussion earlier today, Seyrr and I. It's realistically, I think it was that, or somebody we were having this discussion. It might have been Yelta at Victoria Borough this afternoon, where, yeah, that's what it was. Final Fantasy XIV, first and foremost, is a single-player RPG that has MMO elements.
Huh.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because, I mean, you play through the majority of the MSQ by yourself. They have now
occasionally teaming up with people for a dungeon, but yeah.
And they have now given us the trust system to get through the dungeons. At least for Shadowbringers.
Sort of. And we can get through the dungeon once.
It does feel a little I did get all my trust to 80 a couple days ago, so hooray for that. But it does seem like if you want to play it as a single player RPG, like if you don't, you have a lot of options on that. If you want to engage further, then there's a lot of multiplayer type stuff, but it is definitely it is less required here. You can do it like it's MMO possible or like enabled, but not required.
I mean, it was a lot more MMO required at the beginning.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things that required multiple people. I mean, a lot of the quest lines and things like that were kind of tied behind some multiplayer content. Like, well, the initial dungeons, you needed 4 people. Some of the things require fates, which a lot of times required multiple people to complete.
I don't think they even had duty roulettes at that point, did they? Like, I know duty roulettes were relatively early on, but were they at the beginning?
I don't recall, to be 100% honest with you. Maybe we got them in like 2.1, 2.2. I mean, that was so long ago.
It's hard to remember, like, hey, remember 1.0? Well, yeah, it was jank and it didn't work. Remember 2.3? And we're like, oh, God, what? Like, we have no idea what 2.3 looked like.
No, I mean, because everything was just progressing so smoothly.
Yep, patch 2.1 was where they added duty roulette.
I suppose once they started actually adding in more dungeons, they added in, they split the dungeons up to where we got our level 50 roulette, or expert roulette, I think they called it at the time then. And then we had a leveling roulette, and yeah. But yeah, it was a really nice addition to the game, and now we kind of take it for granted, but
we just sort of assume that it's there.
We're all glad it is, so.
Right. Then we go try to play other games, and we're like, wait, what do you mean there's no duty roulette? What do you mean there's no duty finder? What do you mean they're not going to pick up 3 random players when we finish this? Like, nope. You got to figure it out on your own.
True.
Party, can I have it? Party, do you need it? Party, can I have it? Party, do you need it?
Shouting for leveling parties in the dunes.
How many times did I fucking get to Boyata Tree and then they were like, yeah, we just disbanded?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it was not an easy task to get to some of those locations. There was no fast travel. Well, I mean, the
No.
closest thing you could do, I mean, you could maybe do an outpost warp.
But then you better have your silent oil.
Yep, and your deodorants or your prism powders or yeah, all that fun stuff.
Every time you have an unfortunate memory of 11, take a shot.
Gummy train to Selbina!
No, stop it.
Well, looks like Crawler's Nest is going to be inaccessible. A
Yep.
Beastmaster cave! They're our hero! But don't let them in your party. I have hours of this.
I know you do.
Speaking of hours, who wants to do Dynamis?
Okay, moving on.
I'm not traumatized. Shut up.
Okay, so in some other Final Fantasy news, I saw that the Final Fantasy III Remake for Steam, Android, and iOS, which is basically the DS port, it received an update recently, but it broke the in-game text.
Huh.
How did it break it? Do we have screen caps?
What
Yes.
was the update even about?
Okay, basically what it did is it added auto battle. Some UI and controller support was improved, and it supports 21:9 aspect ratios.
Okay, that's neat, I guess.
But what it did was the text in a lot of areas now overflows the text box. And
As somebody whose entire job it was to prevent that in an Animal Crossing title, I'm very irritated that they couldn't double check that before they sent it out.
but it's actually pretty hilarious. Apparently, Square Enix is looking into this, so please look forward to it.
Okay, shut up.
But yeah, I thank Nova Chrysalis for this bit of fun information. If you go to the link that I provided in the chat, you will see some screenshots of said broken text boxes.
Oh, Lord in heaven.
Am I right?
Oh my God. Guys, come on.
Okay. And it's actually, there's not just one or two, there's quite a few.
And I'm actually playing a Warrior of Light title deck right now in FFTCG. So now I'm just looking at Refia and I'm just like, do better. It's like, I know how capable these little kids are. Why can't they speak inside of the box like they're supposed to?
Their speech is so great, it floods the text box.
No, it's not great. You've met Ark, right? Ark is not great.
Be nice to Ark. He needs
No.
hugs.
Come on,
He
Lunith
does.
is the best.
Lunith is definitely the best, but Ingus is definitely helpful.
Well, why do you think I got a tattoo of Lunith?
Ark is soft, gentle boy, and he needs hugs.
Lunith will kick his ass. Moving on.
That's
Yeah,
the problem. He's not
Yeah.
here for ass kicking. He's here to be sweet.
And then the last bit of
I'm here to
game
kick
community
ass and
news.
chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of ass.
Oh my! I mean,
Anyway,
my.
adults. I need an adult.
I am an adult.
I need a better adult.
So NHK recently asked a bunch of people over in Japan about some of their favorite things within Final Fantasy, and they recently compiled a number of top 10 Final Fantasy lists. Again, thank you to Nova Chrysalis for this information. We'll link that in the show chat, and it will also be in the show notes for those of you listening on the podcast. So, for the series, number 10, Final Fantasy 15. The ninth favorite was Final Fantasy 11, followed by Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 5. Bringing up fifth place was our boy, Final Fantasy 14.
Woo!
Fourth
I'm happy
place.
that 5. Oh, sorry, keep going.
Fourth place is Final Fantasy 9. Third place, Final Fantasy 6. Second place, Final Fantasy 7. And in first place, Final Fantasy 10.
I'm actually not as surprised about that as I thought I might be.
I'm not surprised by it. It's a top 10 list. They're very subjective.
Yeah. And
Well,
this is
that's-
NHK as well, which is
So
basically
it's
Japanese public
PBS.
public television.
Yeah. And they'll also just show up to your house and tell you that you owe them for watching their network, and you'd be like, I don't own a TV, and they'll be like, okay, you owe us for watching our network. It's weird. If you live in Japan,
I'm glad that's
if you
not
live
a
in
thing here in
Japan-
the U.S.
yeah, if you live in Japan, don't answer the door for the NHK guy, and don't bother to say, oh, I don't speak Japanese, I only know English. They'll just bring an English translator the next day.
Wow.
I'm dead serious. It's nuts. Anyway,
I'm legit impressed.
yeah, but so for this list of 10, like, we see kind of the heavy hitters, right? We see 15, modern, new. A lot of people know about it.
Mhm.
7 and 10, not surprised. We
I
see
am
both
surprised to
MMOs.
see 10 at the top, though.
I'm shocked at that, but I feel like if you're going to pick a top 5, you're going to see 7 and 10 in there.
Yeah, I
you
would
pick a
see-
top 3, you're going to see them in there. So yeah, sure, they can be top 2.
Well, here's the reason why I'm really surprised that Final Fantasy X is number 1.
Oh my god, that thing wasn't even that bad.
It was worse in Japanese.
It was bad.
Huh.
It
But
was
I mean,
actually
the entire point was that it was supposed to be awkward and weird.
it was successful at doing that. But if we look, we lost 1, 2, and 3. So we lost all of the NES titles.
Yeah.
We kept 4, 5, and 6. That's cool. We kept 7, 8, and 9. We have 10 and 11. So our missing one is also 12 and 13.
13 I understand. 12 I'm a little shocked by. I figured
12 I was
12 would have
shocked by.
taken 15 spot.
Well,
Go
who
for it.
exactly is the audience for this? Is it like people who have been playing a lot of them, people who maybe played 1 or 2, and it's like, oh yeah, I have fond memories. That was the one I played when I first got my PS2 back in high school or whatever.
Exactly. If I talk to my friend Lancetti, her first title was 10. So she's like, that's where I came in. So she tries to explain to me Final Fantasy lore. And I'm like, everything you just said is wrong. She was like, what? And I'm like, no, here's where that started. Here's where that started. Here's where that came from. And here's how that showed up in 2. And it's like, she has no idea. She wasn't even alive when 2 came out.
So you need to
Yeah.
give her a stack of discs and a PS2 and be like, play these games.
So
That's
she went back and played the rest of them
Yeah.
later.
Okay.
But it was definitely, she came in on 10. So her entry point was very different. So if you have people that have only played a game or 2 or started late,
Yeah, it depends
not
on
gonna
the
see-
age group. I mean, if it was somewhat younger, yeah, I can understand. But like I said, I'm
I-
one who grew up and I played the original when it was on
Yeah.
NES.
me
I
too.
mean, that's the thing. We're kind of at a point now where you like have a lot of people who come to gaming as adults.
Imagine
Like
somebody's first entry into the franchise, not the 90 plus others that aren't in the numbered 15. Their first entry into the franchise is like Final Fantasy III on Steam.
Yeah.
And then you're like, cool, now go play Final Fantasy VII. Excuse me, what? Like,
Yeah,
that
that'd
is
be-
not even how's that even the same company?
Well, I
That's
mean,
so
7
different.
was a huge change, in the way they had addressed the Final Fantasy series. I mean, it's the first foray into something that's somewhat modern.
Oh, for sure. But just like if you show somebody a job-based version of 3 and then hand them 7, which is a big change, show them 8. Explain the Guardian Force junction system and then throw them at 12's grid.
And the
Hell no.
Gambit system.
Hell no. That's not going to make any sense to anybody.
I mean,
Like,
I mean,
yeah, it is going to be. It's like this game is perfectly fine, but why don't you get back to some of the ones that were made by the same people?
That's
It's
what
like, oh,
Nine's
you
for.
summer child.
yeah,
That's what 9's for.
yeah. That 9 was the return, and that's why I
Yep.
think it's probably one of my favorites. I think it actually is my favorite. Is 9
Yeah, it definitely hit on a lot of the nostalgia points there.
plus Vivi.
Plus Vivi.
Vivi
It'll
is
be in my
best
top
boy.
10 for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Vivi-
Vivi's not actually best boy.
Well,
Sort of.
Let's. Who is best boy? The next list that they gave us was characters. How's that for a segue?
There we go.
I helped.
Now, I'm kind of amused on that one that even though Final Fantasy X was the top game, only 2 of the characters from Final Fantasy X made it in, and neither
Alright.
of them was the like
Alright.
about double that made it in from 7,
All right. So number 10 was Zack from Crisis Core.
which is kind of 7.
9, Tifa. Tifa deserves a spot. She's pretty damn good. 8 is Lightning. Now, Lightning she was very prevalent in Japan when 13 was out. I mean, she even had
She
a
was
freaking Louis Vuitton ad campaign, for crying out loud.
She advertises Louis Vuitton and Noctis as a cup noodle. What the hell was going on with that company?
7 is Titus, and I will always say Titus or Meg Ryan.
It's fine. I don't care.
6. Now this one threw me for a loop. Emmett Selk.
That was unexpected.
Emmett Selk. And
How many?
I was gonna say spoilers. He's the only 14 character listed.
How many votes do you have to get in top 10? Let alone 6th. Let alone a character that's only existed since July.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
That's
he-
insane.
Well,
A lot
technically,
of
he
these other
existed
ones, like, you
before
could-
then because we saw him as the granddaddy.
Solus.
Solus, thank you. I was gonna say Solus.
But even then,
like,
we
that's
hadn't
right.
had that much of a chance to really character and get to know him.
Yeah, he was
the
kind
stuff
of
about him
dick.
that. No, sorry. Like I have a lot to say on this. The fact that someone who we didn't know for that long, compared to the others on this list, these are ones that people like grew up with, like had stuffed animals or figures of, made all sorts of art, did all sorts of stories. Like they've had time to kind of like settle into your consciousness and be like, hey, this is a treasured part of this thing in my life.
Yeah,
Emmett Selk, like, yeah, we're talking a
in
matter
9
of
months, Emmett Selk
Yeah.
made it to number 6. That's amazing.
He is that good a character.
All right, continuing
He
on.
is.
Number 5 was Zidane from Final Fantasy IX. 4, our boy Vivi. That's actually pretty damn good, making number 4.
Vivi outranks Zidane, whatever at that.
Yeah, well, he should because he's much better.
He's a better character, but he's also a character for the same game. He's not the protagonist-esque character.
But everybody
Yeah,
loves
it's
him
inter-
more.
Yeah,
It's
he was
interesting
great.
to see which ones of these are like, hey, they're the protagonist, thus kind of a representative of it.
Yeah, and Emmett Selk's the fucking bad guy.
But he's a really interesting bad guy.
Yeah. Number 3 was Aerith. 2 is Yuna. So Yuna beat Titus, which makes
Well, I mean,
sense.
I'm not
Yuna's a
surprised.
fucking badass.
She also got her own game,
Yeah.
Oh,
and she asked you a very important question.
I don't remember that game at all. I don't
Oh,
think that game exists.
Do you remember the question she asked you?
And number 1,
He doesn't remember that game like no one remembers that there was an Avatar Airbender movie.
There wasn't one. It was. I'm sad.
and number 1
I know.
was Cloud.
All right.
I mean, Cloud's just kind of an iconic character here.
Yeah. I mean,
He's hit the point of spiky-haired, big sword RPG character. Like, people that don't play video games know Cloud.
yes. I mean,
Yeah.
he's Final Fantasy. I'm sorry.
He is.
For better
very
or for
much a
worse,
front
he is.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of interesting to look at and compare some of those things. Like, Final Fantasy VI was number 3 on the list, but not a single character from there made it on there, in part because it's an ensemble cast. Like, lots of people love 6, but there is lots of different characters and things to love about it.
Okay, let's keep moving on.
So
'cause
it's kind of...
we're-
Sorry, I could go into a lot of detail on some of the
and
interesting patterns
I
here.
love this. I wish we could go into more depth, but this is good stuff. Bosses and summons. There's some interesting things in here as well, which we'll get into. Number 10, Seyrr Sephiroth. Not the guy from the Crucible. So
Actually, instead of just, like, reading them off, do you mind if I just do a quick summary of stuff I noticed here?
okay.
So our bosses and summons mostly lean on the thing of summon. For ones that appeared in multiple games, they were kind enough to specify which one they appeared from. Final Fantasy V actually managed to get a couple on here, even though it didn't do terribly well on the rest of it.
Nope. Sildra at number 9 and Omega for number 5.
Yeah, Sildra being kind of this character with this really nice storyline, having this tie-in to Ferris, being like, hey, this is a summon that kind of has some story behind it, has some feelings behind it. People get that emotional attachment. And Omega becoming a series regular, becoming like this iconic thing of this super boss traveling throughout all the stuff.
Final Fantasy X was also well represented here. Number 7 was Braska's Final Aeon. Number 6 was Valfor, and then number 4 was Anima. All 3 of those are pretty key to the story. I mean, Valfor is the first summon that we learn. Anima is probably one of the more iconic ones from 10. Just people remember that whole pain thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of good story attached to that one as well.
Yeah, and then Braska's final Aeon was one of the final bosses.
And
A good fight.
well, it's not too surprising given that this was a game whose story was explicitly about summons and summoning. Like, it was a central thing to the plot.
Yeah.
So having the summons be a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit interesting, that's something that makes a lot of sense.
6 was only represented by Kefka at number 2, but Kefka is a pretty amazing boss.
Yeah, he kind of broke a lot of the rules for what people expect. Having this insane laughing clown, he was really memorable, had lots of all sorts of good lines. It was something that was really new and really striking, and I think for a lot of people it became this is something that, just like the threat that he posed and the feelings they had about him, was something that was really long lasting.
Now, how do you like this? The guy who was number 6 in the previous category is basically number 3 in the boss and summon category. Hades from 14.
Yeah, because that one felt a little bit more like, hey, here's this continuation of this theme. Like, the Hades as the boss was just kind of an extension of Emet-Selch, the character. You had a lot of stuff carried with it, a lot of those character aspects crammed into those mechanics and those mid-battle scenes. It was a really epic feeling. That said, I would be interested to see if they conducted this survey again 5 years from now, if they got a lot of the same answers.
Yeah. And then 7 was also well represented, like I said, Safest Sephiroth at 10, Bahamut Zero was number 8, and of course, the iconic Knights of the Round was number 1.
If you ever want to cast Knights of the Round and you have full animations turned on, go ahead and hit the summon and then queue up an episode of your favorite podcast and listen to all of it, and then your summon will be done.
And if you really want to, extend your fun, make sure you got W Summon on and Mime. And
Quad magic!
Oh, God. Why?
And then you'll never have... you can catch up on, the entirety of One Piece.
Yeah.
I think you could. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, Knights of the Round
so
is
long.
not that it's something where I could see it, given that in Final Fantasy XIV they had an entire boss battle that was, you're getting Knights of the Round used on you.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually... I loved the way they brought that in as an actual trial.
Yeah, but just kind of, it's this thing that even much like people who haven't played the series know about Cloud, people who haven't necessarily played as much of it know about it's the one with the super long summons.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how they bring Knights of the Round into the remake. We won't see it till at least the second part, maybe
Chapter
the third.
2.
But
And given that summons are already a bit different as stuff that active...
yeah, are we going to have 13 knights circling us and attacking the boss for us, or what's going to happen?
I could see one lead knight and then calling in various ones for tag teamish type effects maybe.
Or I know, like I said, the summons actually have a build up mechanic that they power up and then they use their Hellfire or their Diamond Dust. Maybe at that point Knights of the Round will bring in multiple attacks from the other knights.
Could be.
It might be King Arthur who you summon out, and then his knights, he brings in the knights when he builds up his limit gauge.
His charge, yeah.
Okay, and then the final category is music, and I'm extremely disappointed in this one.
There's a few choices in here that I definitely agree with. I don't like where they are in the list, but I definitely agree with them. There's some that I'm like, how in God's name did that end up on a top 10, let alone a top 20?
Most of them are super iconic pieces,
True.
The leitmotifs that you hear over and over. The one that if someone starts humming a couple, a bar of it, instantly.
But where is Answers?
Answers isn't on there. Dragon Song isn't on there. Final Fantasy, Melodies of Life, One-Winged Angel, Eyes on Me,
they're all
Clash of the
great.
Big Bridge. Sure. Aerith's theme, Flash from 13. What? No,
In Search
come on,
of
guys.
Friends for 6.
Yeah. For the people who love 6, the In Search of Friends.
No,
it's that bit of the World of Ruin where you're it kind of sums up the entire 6 experience.
Where is Sanctuary of Zeta?
How many people played 11 enough to know Sanctuary
Where
of
is
Zeta?
Sanctuary of Zeta?
Where's the Rocktika Greatwood? But just that being said, like obviously we're all going to have a lot of strong opinions on these top 10.
But
versus
there's no
however
11
many people they
songs.
asked.
There's no 14 songs. I'm a little disappointed.
The MMOs, like the MMOs, I don't think necessarily got played as, or also with the MMOs, I know there's very fierce arguments about whether Soken is the greatest genius who has ever lived or deeply overrated. Like this is a thing that people have nearly blows about.
He
I don't wanna
learned
get
from
into
an
it 'cause he's very
amazing
good.
person, I think.
But whichever way you feel about it, getting enough people united about it to end up on one of the top rankings on the list.
Okay, everybody.
And like,
we're all going to march down to the NHK headquarters, and we are going to petition that they redo the music.
and that's the other thing. If like, say you love the various Primal songs, say you love all of that, you've got
where's
a lot
Oblivion?
of options. You've got a lot of
Yeah.
options to choose from. Is the thing.
That
It's
might
like
be part of the issues because
splitting the vote.
There are so many songs in 14 that are amazing that whereas
Splitting the vote.
Yeah.
Have we've all been to Distant Worlds or Dear Friends, right? I
Yes.
think at this point. Okay. How the hell are you supposed to pick enough tracks to keep that concert under 17 hours? There's no way, right?
Yeah.
But
Some stuff's going to get left out.
they do it in 2 hours, and I remember standing outside talking to my friends, just like, I don't think we're going to hear anything from 14. And then we went back in, and Susan was there and singing Answers, and we all just about cried.
I was
Yeah.
sad we didn't get Susan at our Distant Worlds, but I've
think
gotten
life
to
happens.
see I've gotten to see Benjamin twice.
I think she was at ours.
Yeah, I think
she's
she did. I think
great.
she did West Coast. I don't know. There's a lot of people that we want to see all the time. Also, Black Mages. Like, I'd love to see that.
Oh,
I'm never
right.
Have they
going
done
to.
anything recently?
Well, with Uematsu
No.
being kind of
Ill, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of taken
Like-
a lot of it out.
Get
I'd
Koji
love
to
to, but I've never-
reform the Star Onions.
Oh
Or just
God,
get the primals to come.
I'm down. I will go see Primals all
Yeah.
day.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're
Hey
already-
guys, good news. We have a discussion topic tonight.
Yes, we have not gotten into our discussion topic yet, which we are about to start, and we are already almost an hour and a half in. This is gonna
Rip.
sit down, buckle in. We're gonna
Wait,
jump
Koji
into
was
this.
their drummer?
Really?
Sorry.
Welcome back to the show, Seyrr.
Yes, Nick Nar. Where is Ron Farr? I agree.
No, I like it, but Sanctuary is the song from 11 for me.
Ron Farr is the one that usually shows up at a lot of the concerts because again, it's going to be a bit more like.
But it doesn't stand up to Sanctuary of Zita. I mean, Seyrr, don't make me mute you.
Oh.
I guess I like the song. It gets stuck in your head, as you've so well shown, but it's not as haunting and beautiful as Zita.
Oh, I would say the one like if you look. Just last thought on this. If you look at the list, it's not necessarily the ones that are the most beautiful or the most technically whatever. It's the ones that kind of capture a sense of feeling.
What are you
That
talking
when
about? To Xanarkand, number 1 on the list, is
Yeah.
one of the most beautiful songs in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean it's beautiful, but I think one of the reasons is not just that it's beautiful, but it captures this moment. It captures this sense
Yeah.
and this feeling in the game.
It is Final Fantasy X. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, it's the opening song you get.
It's that slightly melancholy feeling, that moment of sad reflection. As
And we were going to move on, but apparently,
I stopped. I'm doing my part.
This is something
we need to
about
have
a lot.
We
a
need
lot.
we need to have a music special cast.
I have
I'm
thought about this
down.
a lot. I have so many feelings.
Or we make the music of Final Fantasy a series. Okay, guys, if you want that, let us know. Podcast@phoenixstarradio.com.
Taliz
Okay,
will play the ocarina.
you start the next topic. I'm going to get a glass of water and try to calm down.
Okay, sounds good. So, discussion topic. We are going to get into some spoilers. So, for everybody who has not necessarily played through everything, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You've been warned.
Do you actually turn on an echo? That was awesome.
Yes, I do.
Sick.
That's what having a board next to you is able to do. So, So we are not going to talk MSQ spoilers tonight. That is going to be next episode, 117. We'll be talking about MSQ spoilers. Tonight, we're going to talk about the side quests, Eden's Verse, and the Sorrow of Werlet. The first story that we got out of that. So, starting with Eden's Verse, I was actually impressed. It was a pretty good story.
Extremely impressed. I was really happy with it because mechanically, it's like we're getting 4 things, we're getting some summons, like we know how it's going to go down, but then they have to subvert those expectations. Well, and they did a really good job of it, but they still gave us everything we needed and wanted, plus a lot of amazing stuff that we were not expecting.
How they led us down the path was very well. The story that they told with this, we basically go to Mordsuk, we talk with our man on the scene, Yalfort, and he lets us know that the girl that we fought on top of Eden in E2, basically, who was unconscious this entire time, has finally awoken. And we learn her name is Gaia. She's a former resident of Yulmore, but she doesn't remember anything aside from that. But what she lacks in memory, she definitely makes up for in attitude. Holy shit.
She's a beast. Like an absolute beast. She's kind of tsundere. Like I was like, are you just being a bitch for the sake of that's your personality? Or are you literally just so frustrated and confused because you don't know who you are or
like,
what you're doing?
Oh my God, Becky. I mean, she's like that.
She's definitely shows up already 110% done with everybody else's shit.
She's making Thancred carry her baggage.
Okay, was it just me or was that definitely like a Spaceballs thing for a second there?
You're not wrong. I mean, it was definitely, almost on that level, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, somebody might have had a Mel Brooks marathon or something.
Someone had a Mel Brooks marathon and
yep,
threw Daphne Zuniga's hairdryer on the ground. It was a good time.
So we learned that this power that she has, she calls the voice. It comes from a voice in her head that she calls her fairy. And it reminds Urianger of Ryne's relationship with Menphelia. So whereas he's already kind of thinking that if Ryne is the Oracle of Light, is this Gaia maybe her counterpart, the Oracle of Darkness?
The Oracle of Darkness, which was a cool parallel to like us becoming the Warrior of Darkness, especially since we've been the Warrior of Light. But it's like, no, now we need to bring night to the place. It's like now we have a guide that's dark instead of light. What is her purpose here? What is her purpose now?
Yeah.
Yo,
welcome back.
My landlord ordered pizza, so I got a slice and a drink.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
good.
I know Taliz got pizza because that was what the doorbell was. He posted it.
It
out
was
on
Pizza Hut.
Okay, we were close. It was either. I'm just surprised that it wasn't like some other local place that you have. But
I'm actually not close enough to any of the places I normally order from.
oh, for sad.
Aw.
I also had an amazing person. Shout outs to Mama Dragon 89 who saw my tweet about wanting pizza and not being able to afford any right now, and then she straight
Mama
up ordered me
Dragon.
pizza.
You are so
and
awesome.
It's to my house.
That is so,
So
cool
that
that you
was
can do
so
that. I've
cool.
done that for friends in the past. That is so awesome, Mama Dragon. You rock.
So
Aw.
she's amazing. I adore her.
Huge shout out. So
All right, so where were we?
Gaia insists that we go back to Eden, as she believes that her fairy intended her to go there and make contact with Eden. So she rushes off because she's all got to be her way or the highway kind of thing. And we end up catching up with her as she's being attacked by a giant antlion. So she uses her powers to take it out with the odd delay and all.
Yeah, that weird kind of like time stopping.
Now, did anybody else think that maybe this means we're getting a time mage?
That is not where I went with that.
Okay.
Uh,
It is kind of weird that her power is on a timer like that it's got that much of a delay. I mean, does that mean that it's coming from somewhere else and it's just that much lag?
It's unclear. The fact that she talked about the fairy. So how much did you two play through? Taliz, I don't think you did. Klauss, did you play through Final Fantasy VIII?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. Do you remember about the reference to the fairies in there?
I don't recall. It's been a while.
So there are the sequences where they're kind of being projected back in time to watch the exploits of Laguna and his friend.
Oh yeah, I remember that
And
bit.
yep. And so our characters are discussing what's
Oh,
going on during the.
Are you talking about when Laguna starts hearing the voices
Yeah, he
of
talks it
Selfie and Cloud? He starts hearing their voices in there.
kind of. Like he talks to his friend and says like, "Oh, hey, the fairies are back." Like it's not clear that they're like hearing the exact words, just like, "Oh, there's these like distant voices." And when that happens, they tend to be blessed with good luck in battle. Which is kind of sort of like the powers of these people reaching back and then like their combat capabilities. So it's kind of that story explanation for.
So that's kind of
the
where they drew that from.
That's the impression I'm getting, that given that there's already been a lot of Final Fantasy VIII references, that Final Fantasy VIII has this whole thing of like this sorceress from the future, Tamicia, who is
Makes
reaching.
sense.
Yeah. And so you have like, hey, you've got the Gaia's got this fairy reach out that's giving her access to these kind of time-related powers. I'm wondering if this is going to end up being a big Final Fantasy VIII callback there.
Like I said, I mean, there is a lot of 8 in this, and that's why I was thinking maybe we get some sort of time age. I mean, Ultimecia is, her big thing is time compression.
Right.
Yes.
So, and but
But
that really
I don't
wouldn't
know
make
how that
sense
would-
as a mechanic.
Yeah, like how would that actually play out in battle?
So that's why I thought maybe something along the lines of a time mage that speeds up and slows down time. Just my thought. I mean, because that the time mage was a thing. I mean, that's where you got haste and slow and
right
and stop.
But in terms of how that actually plays out with what I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, and it wouldn't really make for a really good class. It would make more for something that they would add into other classes to enhance their abilities.
Learn this time mage side quest as a tank, and learn this as a DPS.
It'd be interesting. I don't think they would do that though.
No, that's not how this game is designed.
All
but
right.
No.
Continuing on. So with the delay, that the antlion disappears and she's unharmed, and they're all like, "Whoa, that looked familiar, but still, whoa." She kind of went into
that hit hard.
She also went to explain that her fairy, kind of does that to her. That that she can't really control how long it takes for the magic to take effect. So. So did we learn, does Ether have a lag?
Aether definitely has lag.
I mean, if it's coming from the 13th, it might take a little bit of time to transfer through. I don't know, just a thought. So they make their way back to base camp and to Eden, and we through a little bit of discussion, we all know Oriange talks too much, so we just cut to the chase and we decide that we're going to restore lightning next. And not the one from 13. We're talking about the element of lightning. So that brings us.
One, Klauss.
What?
You can't see the look I'm giving you, but know that I'm giving you that look.
Aww. Anyway, so fight 1, fulmination. So we talk about, before we get actually into the fight, one of my favorite bits was, what do you remember about the Ramuh fight?
He was half man, half beard, and another half beard for good measure.
I think I answered the one about running around picking up orbs with mixed success.
I just thought it was
Just the
funny
fact that the options were all there.
Yes, I like that balls and beard were our options.
This is why you get weird primal.
And what did we get out of that? We got something very different from the half man, half beard, and another half beard. The beard is much shorter. The upper body is much buffer. And the bottom half is Ixian. And he has wings.
Yeah, that was very.
Where did that come from?
I have no idea.
Was it awesome? Hell yeah, it was.
Was it fun to get hit with? Not particularly.
No, it was not fun at all. And some of those mechanics, they will one-shot the fuck out of you.
Yeah, Uriange even specifically called out, it's like, hey, I couldn't help but notice that body was Ixion's body. And yeah, like a lot of groups I was with were kind of thrown by the fact that surge protection, like that surge protection mechanic was still there, but it did something a bit different.
I liked it. I liked it a
I
lot.
liked it a lot more, actually. I like this fight a lot more than the the base one.
You know, the mechanic with the staves that get thrown down, that was a little bit OP, I think. That's a one-shot mechanic. If you're in range of one of those and get hit, you're dead.
But I mean, like, there's a good amount of lead time on it. That's one that felt like okay, they intend for you to get killed by this maybe once.
And I only died to it once.
Yeah. And then after the first time, you're like, wait, what happened? Oh, it only hit one of those. Oh, wait, they were different heights. Oh, wait, lightning strikes the tallest thing.
And it does make sense. There is a lot of lead up. It's also a wonderful training tool to explain to people who forget from time to time, hey, your camera moves, and that's part of your fight control as well. You need to make sure that your camera's pointed in the right spot so you can see what's going on.
Now, the other question, and Nick and I brought this up in chat, how many of you guys died from poorly placed clouds? Because holy fuck, do those hit
oh my
hard
god,
too.
yeah.
I was the tank, so I usually didn't notice what was going on with that.
At least
What
Like,
I
I probably died.
no
I
problems.
probably died to that a few times. I just didn't notice that was what it was.
Tanking, no problems. Samurai, oh my god. I think I died like 5 or 6 times. So
because
I figured
it will target DPS and healers. I don't recall seeing it hit the tank unless it was like the off tank and he didn't have any type of aggro on him. But if you were a melee ranged player and you got that thing and you weren't paying attention, you had a lot of pissed off people.
Because you were standing right next to your tank and generally right next to
everybody else in melee range.
Samurai, your monk, whoever else was in your pod of people that's standing out of range. Yeah, there's a reason I keep sprint on my bar. That is why.
Great fight, though. I have not touched any of the savages, you know, just so everybody knows. All of our opinions right now are going to be based off of the normal modes.
Yeah, I've been getting ready for but otherwise, scary stuff.
Yeah, I haven't done any savage since Alexander.
Dang.
I don't think I have either. Ugh.
All right. But a great start to this tier. I really enjoyed the fight. Like I said, the character was designed very well. The Ixions that bolted across the way were really cool too. As
those were gorgeous. That was one of the coolest mechanics.
The lightning bolts that would strike randomly. The background of the thunder plains from 10, that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
Lots of beautiful things for people to gasp at and die to. All right. So once we have defeated our odd version of Beard Daddy.
Never call him that.
I go in mentioning the savage stuff really quickly since there's always a mount. The mount this time around lets you ride him whenever you want.
No, stop it. Don't encourage.
So Seyrr definitely wants to get through this tier and ride the Beard Daddy.
I mean, it's okay, but not quite my type.
Oh my.
Just go with it.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that Klauss wants a detailed observation of the types of things that I'm into.
Okay, so
Clock out another 45 minutes for the show.
So once we defeat this boss, Urianger believes that in order to actually get the rain to fall, we'll need to get the elements of fire and wind to be restored simultaneously.
Amusing thing on that one, there's an extra choice in the conversation that only comes up if you're on Scholar.
I thought it was Summoner.
Oh.
Nope, it's Scholar. So he's asking, are you familiar? Like, do you know about where rain comes from? And the other option is like, kind of, or it's an elegant conspiracy.
What was the third one?
If you're a scholar, you could say it's like, well, I am a scholar, you know. And he's like, oh, awesome. Would you mind giving the lecture for me?
Oh my
Nice. Or
which
should we
point
say,
Nice.
I really do love that they're adding a lot of those little touches. Like, yes, you are on the job whose entire thing is being well educated in this kind of thing.
Anyway. No, yeah, a lot of their stuff is on point. I mean, a lot of the choices that we have to give have been so good. I didn't get into all of them, but if you played through this, you know what I'm talking about. The warrior of sass is definitely in effect here.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
You're definitely being a
so
brat
good.
for some of it.
But anyway, getting back to this, so he wants us to restore fire and wind simultaneously because we need the water to evaporate and we need the winds to coalesce it back together.
Carry it up to where it needs to be, the entire water cycle.
Exactly. Without both of them working in tandem, the water cycle just does not work. We end up evaporating everything off or we end up blowing everything away.
There's also a thing brought up of like the elemental diagram suggesting that bringing both up in conjunction is going to balance out the addition of the, since one of those defeats lightning and there's weird stuff going on. So
Yeah.
It's like, okay, both of them at once.
Yep.
I haven't seen that 6 elemental thing because I forgot about Eureka, so I never did it.
Well, it's
And
also a diagram in his house in Ilmeg.
Right,
You'd
and,
know
like,
that
what's-
if you ever visited.
Yeah, I never do. So I saw it, and I just bleh, words are hard. It reminded me of the back of a Magic card
A little bit,
that
yeah.
has the 5 elements. I was like, oh, cool.
Except we
And
have
then I was
6.
like, wait, there's 6 because we have Astral and Umbral.
And pizza.
Yes, we do. Om nom nom. I take a potato chip and eat it.
No, pizza is an element. Didn't you know that?
That would explain some things.
If you've ever played the Quest for Glory games, you would get that reference. Anyway, moving on.
Nope. I'm
Nope.
guessing it's a PC game.
It's an old Seyrr game, or an old
Yep,
series of Seyrr games. They're
Nope.
amazing. Go look them up on GOG.com.
Don't know what that is. Probably a PC thing.
Get on my level, bruh. Anyway.
Nah.
So this is going to pose a burden, taking on 2 different types of ether, not only on ourselves, but on Ryne, because, she has to control it and get Eden to, coalesce it, and then we have to fight it. So, while Ryne is concerned about the strain this is going to have on the 2 of us, she, at this point, is seeming more concerned with Gaia and her feelings because she's really distant and has been extremely combative. So she decides she's going to go try and talk with Gaia and see what's bothering her. And she brings up, the idea of maybe the 2 of them should go to the Crystarium and like get some coffee biscuits. And oh my God, that was cute. But
They're so adorable.
wow, did the attitude ever come back out? Because Gaia is totally against the idea. She thinks that Ryne is way too positive and needs to settle down. And
it should be no surprise that the internet leapt on this immediately.
yeah.
I'm in the minority here. I thought that whole bit was super obnoxious and super forced. I did not like. I don't ship
Well,
it.
you're
I
also
don't
not
ship it at all.
a teenage girl.
No, and
Nor
I'm
have you
aromantic.
ever been a teenage girl.
No.
A teen girl who was locked up for most of her life, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have catching up on things to do. Girlfriend, this is what we do.
Or a teenage girl who was apparently abducted into the void. And
We still don't quite know what's going on with her.
I'm just
guessing
gonna
here.
stand here and just wave my arrow flag and be like, I don't know what relationships are. I don't ship it.
The internet left on that in some parts of that, but there's also a lot of people who's like, no, it's going to be a good, wholesome friendship, and that will also be cute and adorable.
We'll get to that in a little bit as we continue on the story.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of the stuff people kind of was like, this does not require them to be girlfriends. They could just be girls who are friends.
So
The
anyway,
internet doesn't understand that.
Gaia storms off in a huff, goes to Eden, and we tell Ryne to kind of just keep her chin up, that don't take it too hard. Gaia's a bitch. She'll maybe calm down, and we should get back to work, and let's get that second fight going. So we get fight 2, the Führer.
This one was great. I loved this fight.
So
This is my favorite of the 4.
it starts with an 8-winged Garuda. I think it was 8 wings, wasn't it? 4
Yeah.
on each side?
Yeah, it is.
A shit ton of wings on Garuda. I think it's actually only 2 more than normal.
Yeah, I mean, this
A
seems
bunch
like
of wings.
here's this scary flying thing with a fuck ton of wings.
I thought
Seems about right.
it looked amazing. It was a very
Yeah.
well done model. Not overly super crazy like Beard Daddy.
We remember some weird shit.
Weird.
I'm
we're
not wrong.
But we're
You are technically correct.
Damn right.
okay. So Garuda has some nasty attacks, like those spike things that pop up on the sides. Get out of the way.
Pharaoh Storm, I think it was.
Yes, they're nasty.
Yeah.
But when we take to her, it's either a quarter or a third of her HP. Ifrit says, "Move over, hold my beer," whatever, and decides to come down. And
Yeah, the two of them were making comments to each other throughout the thing. Like the interaction between a little bit interesting.
it was actually kind of a little bit of a throwback to 6, even though it was supposed to be that was Ifrit and Shiva. I think
Yeah.
the interaction was still there, and it was very reminiscent of that type of fight because it started with the one, switches to the other, and goes back and forth type of thing.
And Ifrit
Yep.
and Shiva did the same thing in World of Final Fantasy as well.
Yep, very true.
Right.
Ifrit looks very odd. I mean, he's got like antler-like horns instead of the normal horns we're used to seeing, and is actually looks a lot like the Final Fantasy VI Ifrit.
Yeah, he looked which was called like Jin or something. Like they had like some weird translation issue.
I
Or was
think,
that an earlier one?
That might have been an earlier
Uh,
version.
FF4. Yeah.
Was it 4 that he was like Jin and the Y
Yeah.
burns and all the other terrible translations?
Yep.
But
Well, I'm not sure it's necessarily that. Anyways,
anyway,
it is not an unreasonable translation.
Yep. So then after he takes a bit of a beating, and he has a lot of, you still get the eruptions. He's got a few other attacks that he throws out at you, but he takes a little bit of a beating, and then they both take us on. So they combine their attacks.
Well, yeah. First, they have the bit where we are just fighting both at once for a little while.
Yep. So yeah, you got Ifrit and Garuda, both attacking, both throwing out their attacks. So it's a shit show because you're trying to avoid, the Pharaoh Storm while Garuda's got this line AoE, where you have to stand in the middle, a la Susano kind of thing.
Or one of them throws a bunch of stuff onto the field, and then the other changing their positions.
Yeah,
there's a lot going
There's
on.
a lot of dancing going on there. So you take them down to about 50%, and then they decide to take their teamwork to the next level, and they combine into a fire wind demon called.
Elemental Hero Flame Wingman.
I don't want to slaughter this too bad. It's an old Sanskrit word, Raktapaksa.
Fun Sanskrit word means red-winged, and is another name for Garuda.
Yep. You're welcome for that. I put that there. Or did you already know that?
I already knew that.
Of course you did. But I did Google it to try and find out, so I did research.
Oh, yeah, the moment I saw it, I Googled it, which was slightly awkward because I was main tank, but I made it work.
So we're fighting red-winged Garuda. And the boss basically has all of the attacks and is throwing all of them at us, and it's pretty crazy. The battlefield looks really cool. It's all kinds of Christmas colors. I mean, it's all reds and greens everywhere, and it's a fun fight.
Yeah, it really did a good job of capturing that feel of, hey, here's this place where all these elemental forces are raging about, dancing out of control.
Yep. I mean, the fact that we're taking on 2 different forms of ether at once, I mean, it's going to be a raging inferno with the wind just, making it, even worse.
Yeah, there were definitely several points during all this where I was like, wait, like not just this fight, but throughout this entire tier where I was like, wait, why did we think this was a good idea? Are we just going with this? We're just going with this, aren't we?
We're just going with this. And we just went
Yeah.
with it. And we end up beating Raktapaska. Rastapasta. Whatever.
Rasta pasta. I like
Rastapasta.
Rasta pasta.
Yeah. Yaman.
Yeah, man.
So once we defeat Redwing Garuda, we return back to camp and we find the rain has started. And we're just kind of content to sit there and enjoy the downpour.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice moment. Like, hey, here's something where, like when we brought the water back, it was like, hey, here's a moment where we have a very visible effect of what we've done, and we're going to take a moment to revel in our success of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ryne is very happy at the results. Gaia's mood turns even more sour. And she basically is getting all angry at Eden, which seems to let her fairy get the best of her at this point. Kind of a moment of weakness, and Gaia kind of lets her guard down, kind of a bit. At this point, she's kind of uttering a bunch of nonsense. So we're actually quite concerned at this, but she kind of returns to her senses. But as we're about to discover, her inner turmoil has only temporarily subsided.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, it is inner, so we don't get to see it as directly, just into this, like, really set of dark feelings. Oh, because that was another one that, again, felt like a lot of those moments in FF8 where, like, you have Rinoa drifting in space, wondering if she's just gonna, like, kind of vanish, or Squall's not very well coping with his feelings of loneliness. Like, that felt like another kind of callback to those moments, this character dealing with those, which I think is kind of why they brought up the whole thing of, like, Ryne wanting to strike up this friendship, because you have this person trying to deal with a lot of these concepts of being alone and struggling with this loneliness and things like that.
What did you think of Square's decision to show us Gaia's internal monologue in those special dialogue boxes?
I mean, I'm generally for it. Like, it felt again like a bit of a callback to the Final Fantasy VIII. So viewing it in that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is what they'd want to do. She's kind of the star of this right now.
I agreed. I thought it was very much just a reminiscent of that whole like flashback, like temporary mind takeover. I just read it as that because let's be real, there's only so many facial expressions we have, just from a programming perspective, and just, you can only do so much.
Every once in a while, we punch one fist.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where the style came from. If it was
an
reminiscent
interesting
from something
technique.
or...
Yeah, it feels like it's a little bit trying to feel like what they did in 8, but it's definitely, if you didn't have that knowledge, then it doesn't really make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I would be interested to hear what it was like for someone who hadn't played 8, what they thought of it.
Nick Nar in chat saying in before the fairy in her head is named Ultimecia.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting, honestly.
All right. So let's see, where were we at? So after basking in the rain far long enough, as Thancred isn't a fan of soggy underpants, and he says as much.
Dance in the rain, Thancred. Let those inhibitions go.
Just don't let your drawers get all wet.
Well, yes, if the Great British Bake Off taught us anything, no one likes a soggy ball.
Where'd it go?
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
I was trying to find it. So we decided to go elsewhere to discuss our plans to draw out the ice element. Now, Gaia is not very happy to hear that the fruits of our labor may take decades to actually, bring something out.
I read that not necessarily so much as unhappy as kind of surprised.
She seemed, I don't know. I guess I was. We'll differ our opinions on that a little bit,
but it's definitely was something where she was not expecting this from us. To hear us
she
talking
also is wanting things to happen now.
Yeah,
she's in fairness. What did we just do? And then we came back and it was raining, and now it's like, oh yeah, the rest of this is going to take like a decade, though.
I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
But they don't know what Rome is, I guess.
I was going to say, this is a joke that only makes sense on the source.
But it only makes sense on Earth, maybe, but...
Gardenwald wasn't built in a day.
It took at least a week.
Maybe 2.
But yeah, there has been a kind of recurring theme, especially in this expansion, of the idea of like, hey, sometimes you're seeing it off to the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, we tell her that we're doing this knowing that we're not going to see, the end result of this. We are doing it for the future. And that blows her mind, really, because she hadn't thought of it that way. She's very much been, because she just kind of gotten her memories back, she's been very much for living in the now.
Yeah.
She's not looking forward. She's not looking back either, but she's all about making sure that what she wants now is being addressed.
Because she can't really count on anything in the future.
And she just doesn't know what the future is going to bring.
Right. But she kind of sees herself as being like someone who doesn't really have one. Take what you can now because, there's no guarantee stuff's good. And so the idea of like people who could put in all this effort for something that they don't expect to see in their lifetimes, that does just boggle her.
Yep. But I mean, it changes her thought process. It changes her mindset, which also changes her mood because she opens up to us because she tells us about all her doubts and fears about what's going to happen in the future and why she's living in the now. But when she gets this moment of weakness again, she is stricken with another headache, similar to what she's experienced in the past. But this time she excuses herself to get some fresh air up above decks. We go to check on Gaia, and the situation definitely escalated at this point. At this point, a dark aura has manifested itself into an odd glyph, and a number of Sin Eaters start circling above us. Gaia is basically defenseless at this point, and before they attack us, we bring her inside, and then go back up to confront the embodiment of darkness from within Gaia. Now, this fight, number 3, Iconoclasm, to a lot of people is their least favorite.
I'll agree.
I love this fight.
Yeah,
Really?
I like it too. Now you're thinking with portals.
Oh, it's so good.
Portals.
I understand why people don't like it. Because it requires a lot of thinking. There's a lot of forethought that has to go with this. You have to think, okay, so this is going to hit here, which is going to cause it to happen over here, and I need to be sitting here to not die.
I'm purple. I need to stand in white. White goes into blue, which means I need to stand in red, but I also need to be over here so that I don't get double hit. And you're like,
Yeah.
Oh God, there's a lot of pieces to keep track of while trying to not die.
But I like it.
Yeah. I was the kind of person who I started browsing the adult section of the library when I was 8 or 9 years old because I had ran out of math puzzle books in the kids section. So this fight really scratched that itch.
Oh, not that adult section. Sorry.
No, just like the grown-ups stuff. Like the math puzzle books for grown-ups. Not like that. No. I don't even know how that would work.
You triggered my trap card!
But so yeah, this fight just really scratched that itch of what you're describing. Okay, well this bit's gonna go to there, but then I need to remember that this is gonna swap, so I'll want to account for that and stand here, then step to there.
I've actually had a couple of times when I did not have to move.
Yeah.
All 3
Oh,
went through.
when you get lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Because I knew I could avoid 2 of them by standing in this spot here, because it would switch me to this one, and that would switch me back. And then when the next set came down, I was already in the right color.
Isn't that satisfying? It's like everything is falling into place around you. Like you have like you have an avalanche falling from the sky and all the rocks land around you and you're standing in the one perfect spot.
I love
It's
it when
so
a plan
satisfying.
comes together.
Yes, that. God, I love that.
And that's part of the reason why I like this fight, because it makes you think outside the box. You're not just looking for a line AoE or a big orange circle on the ground. You have to think 2 to 3 steps ahead so you don't die in 20 seconds.
Which
go
I know is
blue
a style
first.
that...
Yeah,
Oh,
blue
sorry.
first, red second, purple first, white first. Like you have to understand how it works. And if you cannot think 1 or 2 steps ahead, you can definitely figure out which DPS is new every time you go in and do it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, and when you're pugging a group, it's definitely really tough because you're just guaranteed to lose 2 or 3 people almost every time.
Day 1, we died quite a few times. I think we wiped about 3 times before we cleared it. The next week, I think I died a couple of extra times as I was trying to cement everything. And now I can get through it pretty okay. I mean, there's still a couple of the mechanics that still get me, like that one line AoE that teleports you.
That one's annoying, yeah.
Having to, I'm still yet to quite figure out the exact way to keep it going to the spot I want it to go to every time.
Thing that helps with that, take a look at the name of the debuff you get when it goes off, because it will always be like right with thee or back with thee or whatever, and so it's going to be that cardinal direction based on your facing.
Okay, because I thought it was just controlled by what direction you were facing in general, but I didn't realize that it actually had a different name for each direction.
Yep. So it'll tell you like, hey, it is going to send you to the left, and the debuff will be called left with thee.
But no, I mean it'll like I said, you can actually change the direction that it faces, though.
Well, you're just changing your facing. Remember that even like small twitches will change which way you're facing.
Fair enough. And because I use keyboard to control everything that's in when I shoot, yeah, it's always going to face the other direction. You're correct. Gotcha.
Yep.
Makes
or
sense.
like if you have something where, if you have a thing where when you attack, it turns you to face the mob.
So it's
you are going to very suddenly change which way you're facing and where you're.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's very similar then to Mustadio's mechanic with the circle, and you have
the
to face
gunshot.
Yep.
Got it. That makes more sense. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm still probably gonna screw it up and just try not to fall off the edge.
Yeah.
But anyway,
this is I get that this is a style of puzzle that for some people is very stressful and not a thing that they like to. This is a type of thing that I love to do on the fly, so I had a great time with it. But I also get why it would not be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah,
definitely not.
All right. So after we take on the flock of sin gulls and manage...
I want that to be a take on me reference, but it is.
No, instead we're just gonna run so far away.
Thank you.
So after we defeat the sin gulls in the dark glyph, we return to check on Gaia, who is still unconscious. We kind of get a glimpse into her inner monologue, and she is floating in darkness, sad and all alone. But then she starts to hear Ryne's voice breaking through that darkness and is drawn towards the Oracle of Light and is able to regain consciousness. She's more subdued than usual, and we are relieved at her recovery. With the worst part behind us, we resume our plan now to restore ice energy. So with that, we then start talking about how our former colleague and friend Seyrr, how she was able to draw in Shiva's power and use her body as a conduit. And Ryne thinks, hey, I want to do that.
Oh my god, I was like, dude, how did Urianger not completely lose his mind at this particular moment?
Yeah.
This is one of those moments where I reminded myself that the lore and story team are there to make stuff work. But if someone on the battle team decided, hey, it would be really cool to do a thing of Shiva, oh, we could use Ryne for that, they're going to figure out a way to make it work because rule of cool is what rules it.
Yep.
You're not wrong.
And that made me a little less bothered about the whole thing. It's like, well, this is just a kind of inevitable result.
She
smile and nod and hope we don't get killed.
She gave Urianger puppy dog eyes, and then we decided, okay, I guess. She insisted that we do it that way. So now we have to not only defeat the Shiva that gets called forth, we also have to not kill Ryne.
Good luck.
And so we get Fight 4, Refulgence. And I just have to say this, I called it.
You did.
I totally called it. We fought all 4 of the remaining ice, or all the remaining aether types.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical, but you did call it. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the fight a little bit. This rendition of Shiva was amazing.
And of course, the whole thing goes out of control pretty much immediately.
Yep. No, I'm just getting into the design of the character itself.
Oh, yeah.
Very tasteful, not like, high cut sides and low cut fronts, entirely.
Yeah, it's like, hey, they're not going to loot her. Good.
Yet. But when we see her, it's kind of got a flowing dress, and like I said, looks really cool. Ryne's face, but definitely not Ryne's body.
No.
Like those cold eyes is like I had never seen her like that.
Yep. The idea of using Ice Aether and then Ryne's natural affinity to light was actually very clever as well.
The whole thing about ice being naturally closest to light, that was an entirely new thing, and part of me feels like that was one of those ones that was like, okay, we're cooking this up to make it work.
Well, I'm not sure they meant that, but the fact that Ryne is the Oracle of Light and the fact that she has taken in this Ice Aether has weakened her ability to hold back the light.
Right.
So they were kind of fighting back and forth.
There's a bit of debate about some of this and what it meant and how much of it is just an ass pull, but
it was still made for a fun fight.
Oh yeah. As a fight, it was like, okay, this is kind of badass.
Let's see. There were a lot of mechanics to learn. Mirror took me a bit to get to used to.
Oh, that threw I was in.
Yeah.
I still have not quite gotten it flawless, but I haven't died to it since the first time I did
we
it.
know which this will help you. There's two different versions. I had this wrong. I just remembered there's 4 variants total, 2 for each different version. There's a 2 mirror version and a 4 mirror version. The 2 mirror version is either going to be a full rear conal or a frontal and everything else conal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's 2 spots that you run to. You either run, if it's the rear conal, you run between the 2 mirrors, and then that's a safe spot. If it's the everything else conal, you run to the opposite side of the mirrors, and that's a safe spot.
I mean, pretty much it's the move that she's doing, it will then be duplicated by the mirrors, except treat the mirrors as the point of origin rather than Ryne.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then with the 4 mirrors, she's either going to do the scythe kick or the axe kick. So if it's the scythe kick, it's going to be the safe spot's going to be right underneath the boss and then right next to the mirrors. Or she's going to do the axe kick and the safe spot's going to be away on the edges and then the center.
That makes a ton more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was having a little bit of a hard time, but I'm tanking it, so most of the time I just have enough cooldowns that I just stand still, and my healers have been really helpful. But I know that that's not going to last forever.
So that will help you understand that aspect of it. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that happen all the time.
There's a lot going on in that fight.
I like the mechanic of where you have to turn away from her while she's changing forms between ice and light. Because I think that is a really cheeky jab at the issues that Yoshida brought up, about people using third-party mods to make lewd Rynes. It's a whole look away or I will hurt you.
That was good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if that was actually what was meant, but it's definitely a nice little jab if so. And then the end bit, having Gaia come in and save her with because the light is too powerful. She brings in the darkness and she basically brings hammer time.
She brings darkness, she summons a hammer of darkness, and then wrecks everybody's shit. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then she uses her time magic to slow down the buildup of light. Because I don't know if you noticed that the buildup is very, very, very fast, and then it hits about 50% when the time magic slows it way down, giving us a chance to take it out.
Fire LB3 again.
It was nice that they gave us an extra LB, so we use the LB to take her out when she's doing in the soften rage of just continuing to spam that last move, and then we get it right away back again, so we can take out.
I mean, it's pretty much like hey, here's the big cinematic finish to it.
Though I will tell you, we actually wiped a few times because the only things that were alive were the tanks.
Oof.
At that point.
And you just eat no matter how many fell cleaves you can pull off. There's DPS.
It was a Gunbreaker and a Paladin.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Gunbreaker made to double Gunbreaker with every single long cooldown available. Pushing it.
We didn't make it.
Maybe.
We didn't make it. We almost the first day when we ran through this, I think we went 6 times. There were 3 attempts to disband.
I forget. I think we had a
finish.
I think we had a similar number of wipes, or maybe slightly more. But both Spender and I were doing the hey, everyone did really good on this. We made it further this time. This is what we observed about that, and that really helped with keeping people's spirits up.
We finished with 2 original people, myself and one other from the original group that started in that Duty Finder.
Yeah, keeping a group's spirits up is an art in and of itself.
It is.
There was just
definitely
one or two
tough.
people who were not getting it, unfortunately, and they kept. And I think it was the healers, sadly, but because people were just dying left and right. That last bit before the cinematic is quite a heal check.
Yeah.
So
if you don't know your class and you're running current content, it's really, really hard. Running older content, you can kind of dial it in sometimes, but you really want to know what to.
Yep. I mean,
people get just like a little scared or overwhelmed, just like start panicking.
Yep. But overall, I thought all 4 fights were pretty damn good. I enjoyed them.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
All 4 of these. I like this set of Eden better than the last set.
Yep.
But I definitely like the Eden story that we have. I think the overall arc of what we're building and what story we're seeing, and the story of Ryne and the story of Gaia and how we're rebuilding this, it's shaping up to be really good so far. We still have another third of it to go.
Yep. So far, go ahead.
I'm not even sure what they're going to do with it because, hey, like we finished with all the elements. So I guess it's going to focus on what's going on with the fairy and other stuff like that, but I'm not sure where they're going with this.
Nope, and I like that. It's going to take it in a totally new direction. We do not have any idea where the third phase of Eden is going to take us.
Well, the first one we got was 2 Sin Eaters, 2 primals.
No, it was 2 primals, a sin, a darkness entity, and Eden herself.
Right. And then the next one, so we're all like, okay, is that what we're basically going to get on repeat 2 more times? 6 elements? And then you called it. You're like, no, we're going to burn through the elements. And then we're going to figure out the next thing.
I do appreciate that they need to, because I expected that it was like a repeating pattern here. So yeah, I appreciate that. No, they keep surprising us that I was wrong about that. I appreciate that they made me wrong because making me wrong makes it way more interesting.
Though I will say I was not fully correct for the fact that I figured it would be 4 primal fights, but we got 2 in 1.
That was cool.
Cool.
Again, that's my favorite one of the fights. Just because we get 3 bosses, basically.
Yep.
God, how many almost floods of light did we have in that last fight?
Like, I got like 3 once.
Because there's the one during the midsection.
Yep.
And then the final sequence, they're preparing another, which it's called Age of Endless Frost, but the little gauge as well is showing it's another flood of light. It's just like the whole light and ice being connected type thing. It's like, okay, we are freezing the. It's kind of like the stuff over at the remains of Amarang. Like this giant frozen ice light thing.
Hey, Seyrr, I didn't think about that, but now I need to go to Amarang for
field trip.
Right?
Woo!
All right.
PDR field
That's
trip.
what I do. I go and notice details.
All right, so now with the 6 elements restored, we return to base camp and we find patches of greenery returning for the first time since the flood. Ryne suggests we all take a well-earned rest, which is much different from her normal hasty demeanor. That's pretty cool that they've had a lot of growth with Ryne.
After that entire thing where she almost accidentally unleashed a couple floods of light and destroyed the world again, she's probably like, I need a little time to process.
Yep.
Maybe she dials it back just a smidge. Just a little bit.
And she also believes that she and Gaia should work together to support one another, as they both have things that they need to deal with. And they seem to be a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And
they really are.
At least when Gaia's amenable to the whole situation.
Do we get to fight Gaia?
Unclear.
Or maybe just her fairy.
Her fairy, sure.
Wait, why do you want to fight Gaia?
Something hot bitchy girl with dark magic hammer and cool dress.
It's a sex thing. Got it.
No, it's not. Also, I need some reference to
Oh
Beard Daddy right
my.
now. There it is. There it is.
So basically, we take the pair back to Mortsuk and we give our report to Yelfert, who will need some time to compile all the relevant information. And Gaia and Ryne will take a well-earned break there.
Gonna get some coffee biscuits.
Yep.
Fuck
Now,
yeah.
do we want to talk about the next bit because it requires completion of the MSQ?
Either way.
I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, if this next quest is only available, like I said, if you've completed the quest Echoes of a Fallen Star, which is the last MSQ for 5.2.
5.2.
So Yalford has received a message from Oriange requesting our presence in person at the Crystarium. So we meet up with him and Thancred, as well as Gaia and Ryne, and he proceeds to tell the two girls the truth about where they're from and how they need to get back to the source as soon as possible before they lose their physical forms permanently. Now,
And how the physical forms that they know are not actual physical forms.
they are basically souls in a fake simulacrum body.
Ish. It's weird.
Yes.
It's weird. That's the best answer and option is it's weird.
Yeah.
Hand wavy.
Eh.
Wavy gravy. I want ice cream now.
Mm.
So Ryne understands. I mean, she's been dealing with these guys since 5.0, and even more. I mean, she's been with Thancred for a few years, I suppose.
Yeah, he's been here for year and a half, 2 years?
A while.
Who was the first
A while.
one too? I think it was Thancred. So that was like about 5 years.
But I don't know if he's actually been with Ryne the entire time. He researched a bit of it, and I think he saved Ryne maybe a year ago.
I'm not sure of the timeline at this point.
We'll have to look at the timeline.
Enough time that it mattered.
Enough
They've
time
been
to-
together for a
It
while.
made a big matter. I mean, because basically Ryne sees both of them as mentors, but she sees Thancred as almost a father figure. I mean, because after he freed her from Yulmore, they've been together since. Whatever amount of time that's been, it's not an insignificant amount.
It's like Thancred is dad, and Oriange is like kind of weird uncle.
Yeah, weird talks too much uncle who has to
He's still lovable, but he's the weird uncle.
Yep. We remind her, though, that ourselves and Gaia will be there to continue to support her. And we then return back to Mordsuk, tell Yalford about Thancred and Oriange's departure, and he reaffirms his commitment to finishing the job. So we will be continuing this in 5.4.
Which, fairness, podcast info fairness, we don't actually know it's in 5.4, but historically, that's where it would end up.
It'll
gonna
be sometime
5.4.
later.
Yeah.
And I think we should save this next bit for another episode.
Heck
Because
yeah.
we had a lot to talk about with the demo for Final Fantasy VII. We talked.
We got a lot. We got a lot out of that survey, more than I expected.
I was just gonna say the same thing. That survey was actually a lot of discussion, which was amazing.
I mean, there's a lot to dig into there.
Mm-hmm. Like I said,
It's
we were gonna dig into the Sorrow of Wyrlit story, but I mean, we want to give it its proper due.
There's some interesting stuff going on there too. I really get why it has that name now, which mostly just makes me more sad.
And Seyrr wants to definitely talk a lot about it. We'll be
it's
here
true.
for at least another hour.
There's a lot going on there, especially once you see callbacks and references to other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Though by the next time we go, I might have done the extreme version of it, and maybe I'll have even more.
Yes, definitely. And then we'll also then be discussing the main scenario storyline as well in 2 weeks. So, with that, it's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. We're still working on getting out on Pandora. I haven't heard back from them yet, but we're on a lot of the different ones. Whatever your preferred podcatcher is, if you can, leave us a rating or review, and help people find our show. If you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. You get access to a number of emotes, subscriber badges, things like that. Or you can be like our friend Aurora Fenrir and go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and support us there. All the proceeds we get go towards growing our show, cover hosting costs, allow us to do some fun things like giveaways, which we do have a giveaway coming up soon. I'll be talking about it probably in 2 weeks. And allows us to do those kinds of fun things. But whatever support you give us, whether it's emails, likes, tweets and retweets, follows, subs, or donations, they're always greatly appreciated because we love interacting with you guys. If you want to check out our backlog of podcasts, go check out www.phoenixdownradio.com and shoot us an email at podcast@phoenixdownradio.com if you have any questions or anything you want to hear us talk about. You can also hit us up on Twitter at PHXDNRadio. So, shout-outs. Who's first?
I'll go ahead. So, shout out as usual to Kyle Spender and to his brother Vasha Solari. Had a lot of fun trioing a lot of the old X's with you. Looking forward to a bit more of it. Vasha actually created 2 full sets of Neo Ishgardian gear for me, which I am very, very grateful for.
Dang.
Yeah,
That's a good friend.
Fisher was level 70 before any combat class. Got some insane dedication there.
Is true.
Yeah. Shout out to Orly from the Gamer Escape Discord, who posted a batch of her glamours, one of which I went ahead and stole blatantly to get this really awesome blue mage look.
No,
oh my gosh,
you were influenced by it.
I mean, she pretty much shared it freely, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, I'm going to use it. And it was like, yay, I'm glad you like it. And it goes with the Neo Ishgardian stuff, too. I'm like fashion current. How often does that happen?
For you, actually, quite frequently. Your glams are pretty on point. I mean, and the fact that you can't have this awesome vest, you got to work a little harder.
Yeah. God, there's so many good pieces that are guy. Oh, I don't want to show off my boobs.
It would be cool to see what this the Valention's vest looks like on females. In its current form. Or you know what else I would love to see, and what they need to do for a Final Fantasy VII crossover? A Turk suit.
Yes.
Shit.
Where you can dress like Elena.
Yes.
And I can dress like Reno.
Yeah.
I like everything about what you're. That sounds amazing.
Essie,
I would also
make it happen. Please.
I would also be satisfied with just being able to wear Snow's long coat.
Yeah.
There's like a really good emergency room doctor glamour that I saw using that. That's like, okay, that would be
fair enough. Anyway, sorry for interrupting with that.
Anyways, yes. But yes, you can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIV where I mostly post interesting stuff I found at the library or occasional things that I cooked with my friends. People seem
Cooking is fun.
It is. That's the other thing that I will talk for hours about. It's great fun with Taliz.
Also,
anyways, yes.
Bon Appetit is awesome. I did it.
Damn it!
I mean, I appreciate it, but that also felt forced.
Well,
it's fine.
Did you see the combos episode?
Yes, it was. I felt my heart seize. I lost an artery permanently just watching it.
But it looked so good.
No, it did not.
It looked amazing. I wanted those combos so bad. Anyway, Taliz.
You can find me on Twitter at Taliz Marvelous. That's Taliz Marvelous. I post weird shit. I don't know what I'm posting right now. Shout outs to Mama Dragon 89 for buying me pizza to eat during the show, which was awesome. Shout outs to Klauss for tolerating me not getting any of my content done in any decent amount of time and still allowing me on the show.
You'll make up for it, don't worry.
Shout outs to Seyrr for keeping me in line and making sure that my jokes don't go too far sometimes.
You do what you gotta do.
I help.
You're helping.
Yay, I hope.
Or should we say?
You're welcome. I gave you a chance to use that. Enjoy.
All right. And I want to shout out to you, Yahoos. Thank you so much for joining me week after week. I don't know why, but you do, and I'm thankful for it. It makes it a lot of fun. You know, I'm very fortunate to have had some amazing co-hosts. Seyrr, who's been here since the beginning, Taliz, who's been here for the last year. Shout out to all the past hosts, to Sayo, to Luna, to Chili.
God, has it been that long? How the time flies.
Yes.
Yeah.
He joined us in January of 2019, so it's been
Yeah.
over a year now.
My 1 year anniversary was like right before I went to Japan.
Yeah, it was literally the first episode of the year, I think.
I think it was.
Cool.
Anyway, it doesn't
It
matter.
was cool
Yeah, it was
stuff.
a while
Anyways.
ago.
So shout out to you guys. Shout out to Yelta, to Nicknar, to Ulf, to Renari, to Daltrea, to everybody who joined me today at Victoria Borough. It was an amazing time. Check out social media for more pictures. You know, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for making these in-person meets successful, because, you know, having, you know, I think the first one we had, you know, a few people show up. This last one we had 9 people. I mean, it's gonna get bigger,
Dang.
you know. So I'm hoping that we can make this a thing and get more people interested. So shout out to everybody who's listening out on the podcast and watching us live here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. We really do appreciate you. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at PHXDN_KLAUSS, PHXDN_Klauss. Right now, I am mainly posting things that I'm preparing for Detour. I recently posted a couple of cosplays that I'm going to be debuting in a month. I am going to be cosplaying as Maze Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist. That cosplay turned out amazing.
I'm so stoked. I can't wait to see it.
And I'm also going to be doing Sarutobi Asuma from Naruto.
Nice.
And I'm a little bit nervous because I just realized like a week ago that the English VA for Asuma is going to be at Detour.
You're going to get judged so
yes.
much.
It's fine, or they're gonna love the crap out of you no matter what.
Yeah,
I mean, probably that.
Yeah, it's still kind of nerve-wracking when the guy who did the voice is going to be there and it's going to be like, hi, you know.
My general experience has been that they're like, wow, people like this enough that they want to dress up at it? Has it?
Yeah.
No, it's got to be so surreal.
Watching
Yeah.
Naoko Takeuchi in a room full of people looking out and going, there are people cosplaying a character that I drew in 1990. What the hell is happening? And it's like, yes, Sailor Moon is popular in America in 2018, and she literally had no clue. Her concept was just completely gone. And we're like, dude, do you know how important your show is here?
No, like I said, I'm so
It's
looking
crazy.
forward to it. Like I said, we got one more episode until then, but yeah, I'm still gonna be, you know, preparing the panels and all that stuff. So if you want more information about that, follow me out on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to see that. So for my co-hosts, Seyrr Tomono, and for Taliz Marvelous, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Crave something or another.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.